Naruto. Start by chopping down a tree and shocking Kurama. Chapter 21 Foshan Naruto vs Konoha and Hasho 39's Gold Medal Technician. Kakashi looked at the scene in shock. This is where Naruto usually trains, and it is also where they first met. Kakashi roughly estimated in his mind that the distance from the Konoha village bookstore to here was about 500 meters. And looking at Naruto's appearance, it should be used more than once. In addition, when he opened the Sharingan just now, he did not detect any chakra fluctuations. This is what surprised Kakashi. Although Naruto's technique is very conspicuous, if the enemy on the battlefield gets intelligence in advance, they will definitely do everything they can to target Naruto's technique. But Kakashi felt that this technique, if used properly, was no less powerful than Naruto's father's Flying Thunder God. And the Space Gate can not only be used for attack, but also for defense. Come on, Uncle Kakashi. The moment Naruto landed, he imitated Sasuke, supported himself with one hand, turned around and kicked Kakashi in the waist. There is absolutely no martial ethics. Kakashi's eyelids jumped and he moved his feet, easily avoiding the attack of the short legs. In my heart, I was lamenting how this child had no eyesight at all. Are you hitting yourself on the waist to ruin his happiness for the rest of his life? He. Uncle Whitehair, you've been fooled. At this moment, a yellow-haired figure suddenly appeared behind Kakashi. Was that a clone just now? When? Kakashi was really surprised. They had just arrived here, so when did Naruto perform the hand seals? The clone Naruto punched Kakashi on the waist, but he didn't feel anything on his hand. Bang! Kakashi, who was hit, turned into a wooden stake on the spot, obviously using the substitution technique. Naruto was slightly stunned, and immediately realized that there was such a buggy ninjutsu. Shish! Dozens of shurikens flew into the air, aiming at Naruto's vital points. It must be said that Kakashi's throwing skills were no less than those of the Uchiha clan. Naruto felt that he probably couldn't block all the shurikens, so he simply protected his face with both hands and rushed towards Kakashi. Kakashi was stunned for 2 seconds when he saw this scene. What the hell is wrong with this kid? You hide for a while. How can you charge forward facing the enemy's shurikens? Kakashi's scalp was tingling from watching this. What kind of animal is this? Even if you have strong recovery abilities, you can't play like this. As expected, Naruto, who was completely unprepared, was stabbed in the hands, feet, back and shoulders by shurikens, and blood gradually seeped out of his black clothes. Fortunately, Kakashi held back and didn't throw out all the shurikens in his ninja tool bag, otherwise, given the child's condition, he would probably be stabbed like a hedgehog. Naruto gritted his teeth, feeling that the pain in his body was still within his tolerable range. Here I would like to praise Teacher Ju's teaching. If it hadn't allowed him to undergo pain endurance training beforehand, he might not have been able to withstand Kakashi's attack. At the moment when Kakashi was stunned, Naruto raised his hand and pulled out a large iron gate, grabbed the end of the iron gate with both hands, and swung it at Kakashi's head with a sound of breaking through the air. Call. Kakashi felt a great sense of crisis. If he was hit, he estimated that he would have to stay in the hospital for 10 days or half a month. But Naruto's attack was still too immature, so Kakashi lowered his head and dodged, then took a few steps back to distance himself from the kid. You have to pull it apart. He now has a rough idea of Naruto's strength. That big iron gate. No matter how you look at it, it must be about 100 kilograms, right? He had no doubt that the kid could hurt himself. And when Naruto came here before, he asked him to teach him some physical skills. Kakashi wasn't so shameless as to use ninjutsu to bully the kid. After an unsuccessful attack, Naruto put away the big iron gate, then took a deep breath and pulled out the shuriken on his body. Because he found that the shurikens that pierced his body greatly affected the healing of his wounds. Kakashi saw Naruto treating his wound and did not take the opportunity to attack, but just watched calmly. However, my heart has begun to feel numb. What's wrong with this kid? He watched as Naruto's wounds healed instantly after he removed the shuriken. What kind of beast is this? Jingle bell. The shuriken fell to the ground with a crisp sound. Naruto's face was alert, his hands were in an attacking posture, and his feet moved slightly. It's time to let Beimao see how powerful Foshan is. Ah da! Naruto yelled and rushed towards Kakashi. But Kakashi took a quick glance and found that the kid's attack was not methodic at all, but full of flaws. With a soft sigh, Kakashi decided to get serious. He used a flash technique to disappear from the spot, which stunned Naruto so much that he forgot what he should do. The next second, Naruto felt his shoulders being grabbed, and before his eyes blurred, he was pressed to the ground. Naruto, when you fight the enemy, remember to analyze their intelligence. Don't just rush in. Kakashi finished speaking, loosened his hand, and pulled up the confused Naruto from the ground. To be honest, Naruto really couldn't figure it out. Although he had begun to refine chakra, he had no combat experience at all. What's more, Kakashi just used the instant body movement technique suddenly. It took less than 2 seconds from the time he disappeared to the time she was pinned to the ground. This really goes beyond Naruto's understanding of his previous life. After all, he still mostly relies on the thinking mode of his previous life when fighting now. To put it bluntly, he has not yet adapted to the power in his body. In terms of strength, he can indeed battle with normal adult ninjas, but when it comes to reaction and coping abilities, he is far inferior. Kakashi saw the frustrated look on Naruto's face and couldn't help but offer words of comfort. Why didn't you use that purple light gate just now? What? Naruto was stunned, scratched his head and began to regret. Yes. How could I have forgotten just now? This feeling is just like when I was playing games in my previous life. It was common for me to forget to press the flash button because I was too nervous during a team fight. Kakashi held his forehead and said helplessly, you can also use that technique when I throw shuriken at you. Yes. Naruto shouted, his eyes widening and slapping his thigh. Isn't this just reflecting all the opponent's attacks? And it's not just shuriken, it can also be used to deal with the enemy's ninjutsu. Kakashi is such a genius. I understand. Uncle Kakashi, try using a ninjutsu on me. Kakashi. Could you please not make it so big? Even if I can't block the shuriken, at least I can resist it. But if you don't have time to use the space-time ninjutsu, then something serious will happen. Naruto. I know you have a different physique than ordinary people. But you can't do this. Come on. Uncle, just use fire escape. Do you know how to use the fireball technique? Is this child listening to me? Kakashi shook his head and sighed, but finally agreed to his request. But at the beginning, he still gave a warning. If you don't have time to use it, get out of the way immediately, okay? Okay, let's get started. Naruto didn't take Kakashi's words to heart at all. After all, the fireball technique cannot harm people with names or surnames. If he were to be injured by this technique, he would no longer be called Uzumaki Naruto today. Chapter 22. Space-time ninjutsu is so powerful, why don't you try Jimao Taijutsu? Kakashi's hands flew and he completed the seal in the blink of an eye. Art Fire Escape Ho Fireball. Naruto suddenly felt the temperature around him rise sharply, and then he saw Kakashi spit out a fireball with a diameter of about 2 meters. But, to be honest, he was quite curious whether those ninjas who used fire release ninjutsu were very arrogant. When Kakashi saw Naruto standing there in a daze, he quickly reminded him, but in his heart he once again sighed at how careless this kid was. The attack is almost to the face. You still have time to be distracted. Naruto came back to his senses with his pupils reflecting the flames. It was his first time facing such a supernatural power and he still felt subconsciously nervous. Kakashi, who was standing by, saw that Naruto didn't take any action and was ready to use the instant body movement technique to save the child. But he thought it shouldn't be a big problem. It probably took only a few minutes for Naruto to be alive again after the fireball hit him. Naruto waved his hands, and the next second a purple light cocoon appeared in front of him again. The fireball whizzed through the light cocoon, and then Kakashi's face suddenly lit up with purple light, and a huge fireball appeared instantly. He really wanted to curse. Why are you throwing it so close? Fortunately, Kakashi reacted very quickly. He leaned back and the fireball flew past his scalp. If it had been a second later, Kakashi's hair would have been in trouble. Not bad. Kakashi's tone was calm, but Naruto could hear the excitement in it. This method of transferring ninjutsu can be said to be very beautifully performed. And as far as he knew, there is currently no means similar to Naruto in the entire ninja world. Uncle, keep going. Let's do something powerful. After seeing that he had successfully transferred the great fireball, Naruto's face was filled with excitement, and now he really wanted to try whether he could transfer other ninjutsu. Just now he saw Kakashi dodging the huge fireball, but it wasn't as easy as before. Naruto instantly realized the power of the Space Gate transfer ninjutsu. And this is not just a simple transfer ninjutsu, he can also transfer the tailed beast ball and even the truth-seeking ball. As long as there is any means of attack, he can use the Space Gate to transfer. That's really. Hitting me is hitting yourself. At this moment, Naruto was as happy as a child who had just got a new toy. Seeing him like this, Kakashi didn't know whether he should be happy that the kid had finally shifted his focus from physical skills, or happy that the kid would not become a reckless man in the future. You, a nine-tails Jinchuriki, have chakra like the sea. Use collective martial arts to fight the enemy. And Kakashi also wanted to see the limit of Naruto's technique. It is good. He nodded and began to make seals on the spot. Naruto saw Wuukai completed the long day seal and immediately understood what technique he was going to use. 44 seals. It is rare to see ninjutsu with so many seals in the ninja world. Water release. Water dragon bullet. As Kakashi performed hand seals, the water in the river began to slowly gather around the two of them. In the blink of an eye, a water dragon over 20 meters long appeared above Kakashi's head. It opened its ferocious mouth and rushed straight towards Naruto. It can be said to be very loud and oppressive. Naruto looked at the size of the water dragon and felt something was not right. The space door is at most 2 meters high and about 1 meter wide. It seems that it can't accommodate this big guy. Although he was confused, his hands kept moving. He first threw a space door in front of him. In order to prevent the water dragon from being unable to be diverted, Naruto specially placed one behind him. After finishing, he leaned back into the purple light cocoon and disappeared on the spot. Sheila. The moment the water dragon collided with the space gate, it was unable to enter completely due to its large size. But with its powerful impact force, the water dragon reduced its body and splashed water everywhere. The moment the light cocoon closed, the water dragon that appeared from the light cocoon that opened by the river was only 1/5 of its original size. You don't need to look, the power is definitely much smaller than before. This attack seemed a bit fierce, as Naruto did not open the space gate directly next to Kakashi. What really happened? Wouldn't it mean that I won't have a Jonin leading the team in the future? However, the effect of the ninjutsu after the transfer is indeed somewhat disappointing. It seems that ninjutsu with a wide range will be weakened after transfer. Kakashi took off his eye patch at some point and glared at me with his Sharingan. Naruto didn't take what he said to heart. You should know that all ninjutsu in the ninja world generally follow the principle that the smaller the ninjutsu, the greater the power. Well, except Susanoo and Daibutsu. To some extent, the space gate can be considered both offensive and defensive, so what is there to be dissatisfied about? You know, he has a lot of cheats. Naruto, use it again. Kakashi pinched his right hand, and Naruto guessed that this guy was about to use his signature ninjutsu, Chidori. Naruto nodded and threw another space gate to the side. Squeak. At the same time, electric light flashed in Kakashi's hands, and there were chirping sounds all around, which made Naruto's head hurt a little. He covered his ears with his hands and watched Kakashi rush into the space gate with blue light, and then appeared 10 meters away. Not bad, it can also be used to assist teammates in attacking. Kakashi cancelled Chidori, pulled up his eye patch, and said with some emotion, Naruto's ability is very strategic. This ability can be used not only to escape and chase enemies, but also to attack, dodge, and assist teammates in combat. After figuring out Naruto's abilities, Kakashi's expression became even stranger. You said you have the ability. What kind of physical training are you doing? Uncle, do you want to continue? No, my chakra is limited. Seeing the other party say this, Naruto immediately showed a contemptuous expression. Is it okay? You're already calling it a hollow after only performing 3 ninjutsu. Naruto was genuinely curious about how much chakra Kakashi had, so he began to question the fox in his stomach. Big fox, look at how much chakra Kakashi has. Ju Lama in the sealed space said lightly without even raising his eyelids. 30 demons. What? It's less than 1/3 of mine. Naruto was a little shocked after hearing about Kakashi's chakra. Then he realized that it was a bit too much for him to use his own chakra to measure other people's chakra. What nonsense are you talking about? Kid, your chakra was already 150 demonic yesterday. Naruto was shocked again by what the fox said. Now he feels like a pervert. If he continues to grow like this, he might really be able to rival the first Hokage. But the most important thing now is to find a way to get inspiration for the 8 gates from Kakashi. It would be best if he could take a look at the operating roots of the 8 gates ninjutsu so that he could get inspiration from it and then modify it to a technique that is more suitable for him. Uncle Kakashi. Okay. Kakashi had just squatted down to rest, and before he had time to take out his intimacy paradise, he heard Naruto calling him. Well, I've been studying a technique recently. It is to compress the chakra in the body to increase strength and speed. What is this kid talking about? Kakashi looked strange after hearing this. Is there a possibility that this technique is called 8 gates ninjutsu? Stop studying. The village has a forbidden technique called 8 gates ninjutsu, which has this effect. Although he didn't know where those strange ideas came from in Naruto's mind, Kakashi still explained patiently. He also felt that there was no need for Naruto to practice the 8 gates. It would be better to use this time to think about how to use the abundant chakra in the body. But Kakashi found that as soon as he said that, the child squatted beside him and looked at him eagerly, without saying a word, just watching from the side. Never mind. Just tell him about it. So, Kakashi slowly stood up under Naruto's expectant eyes. Seeing him like this, Naruto felt that his forbidden technique was stable. Chapter 23 How did this kid become so skilled? Stand still. Kakashi still looked indifferent. After asking Naruto to stand up, he started pointing and criticizing him. Naruto felt itchy after being poked here and there, and couldn't control himself from moving around, which made Kakashi almost angry and hit the kid. Here, and here, that's about it. If your chakra flows along this path, you'll be able to break through and open the door. Of course, if you want to use the 8 gates, you must go through a long period of physical training. Naruto tried several times to follow the route Kakashi told him to run, but found that it was impossible to run. Not to mention opening the first gate of the 8 gates of ninjutsu. It's just as Kakashi said. When Naruto was running just now, he found that the meridians in his body were somewhat blocked, and the flow of chakra was stuck. He had a general understanding of the 8 gates. Normal practice should be to widen the meridians in the body and enhance the body's ability to withstand stress, so that the 8 gates can be used. Naruto has enough hardware now, but the software in his body is so poor. How can he possibly run the 8 gates ninjutsu program? But, originally, he hadn't thought about learning the 8 gates ninjutsu. Uncle, how long does it take to learn this? Naruto still asked a question. After all, when I read fan fiction in my previous life, the protagonists in those books often started training the 8 gates ninjutsu since childhood, and it looked very easy. But Naruto thought that if this technique was not difficult to practice, it would have been popularized to civilian ninjas and would not have been listed as a forbidden technique by Konoha. If it's fast, it will take 1 year, if it's slow, it will take 2 to 3 years. But I don't recommend you go down this path. Kakashi stared, looking very serious. The 8 Gates ninjutsu is only suitable for people who are proficient in physical skills and cannot use ninjutsu. Because the chakra accumulated from daily training needs to be used to break through the obstacles of the door in the body. This is also the reason why he only practiced the 8 gates of ninjutsu. After all, his Sharingan cannot be closed and keeps consuming chakra, so the chakra used to open the first gate is just enough. If Kakashi continued to practice the 8 gates ninjutsu, he estimated that he would have used up all his chakra and died of exhaustion as soon as he entered the 8 gates ninjutsu state. Naruto did have enough chakra, but it was not necessary. You have to know that practicing the 8 gates ninjutsu takes a lot of time. This kid wants to practice 8 gates ninjutsu. Kakashi guessed that the third Hokage was going to hang him up and beat him. It takes so long. Naruto still felt a little disappointed after hearing this. It's really useless to spend several years to open a course. You haven't tested your chakra yet, have you? He decided to guide the child onto the right path of mastering ninjutsu. This saves you from practicing physical skills to death all day long. Kakashi took out a chakra test paper from somewhere and placed it in front of Naruto. Try it. Chakra test strips. After Naruto took it, he looked around, wanting to see what was different about this thing. But after looking at it for a while, I found that I couldn't understand it at all. Kakashi looked at Naruto, who was about to fold the chakra test paper into an airplane, put his hand on his forehead, sighed, and reminded him. Input chakra into it. Naruto gave up the idea of folding the plane and obediently followed Kakashi's instructions to input chakra into the test paper. He knew without even trying. If nothing goes wrong, based on the knowledge from the anime in my previous life, the attributes of my chakra seem to be wind and earth. Cheer. The moment Naruto input chakra, the test paper first cracked and then shattered. Wind and earth. Kakashi muttered as he looked at it, and Naruto was able to determine the nature of his chakra. Naruto looked to be in a daze at this moment. Big Fox, can lightning release stimulate cells to temporarily increase strength? Yes, why are you asking? Kurama was a little confused when he heard Naruto's question in the sealed space. I thought to myself, didn't you just listen to what that white-haired guy said? The attributes of your chakra are wind and earth. Where does the thunder come from? Is there a possibility that I can do it with wind escape as well? Naruto thought about it and felt that something like wind jutsu could achieve a similar effect, right? Although it cannot stimulate the cells in the body like lightning release, wind release should be able to create a gust of wind around oneself and increase one's speed, right? Naruto, who has received 9 years of compulsory education, also understands one thing. That is, the faster the speed, the greater the mass. Speed equals power. Ju Lama sneered with disdain. This kid is just having a wild imagination. Although it didn't know much about ninjutsu, it knew that this was impossible. Naruto didn't take Kurama's ridicule to heart. After all, how could a native like Big Fox have such a brain that has been baptized by the information explosion? In previous lives, there were many skills related to wind in various movies, TV shows, and games. Naruto ignored the fox in his body and Kakashi chattering outside. He stood there and recalled the scroll given to him by the third generation, and began to condense wind attribute chakra on his own. While concentrating, he also thought of the opening meridian that Kakashi had just pointed out. Kakashi didn't say anything about using chakra to rush through the door just now. What kind of reaction will happen if I use the wind attribute to attack? Thinking of this, Naruto became eager to try it out. Does this count as a new ninjutsu of my own? However, Naruto had no idea that Kakashi had only given a rough outline of the route for opening the door. Kakashi looked at the dazed Naruto, but didn't pay too much attention to him. He took out Xiaolu Bei, leaned against the tree and began to read it carefully. About 5 minutes later, Kakashi suddenly noticed that the wind was blowing around him. He didn't pay much attention at first, but after a few minutes he noticed that strong wind was gradually blowing around him. I turned my head and saw that Naruto was being blown by a strong wind. Stop it! At this time, a A large amount of wind attribute chakra gathered in Naruto's body, and it was still gathering. His clothes were rustling in the wind, and the grass on the ground began to be torn apart by the wind attribute chakra. It would have been fine if Kakashi hadn't reminded him, but once he reminded him, Naruto's wind attribute chakra condensed faster. Tear. With the sound of tearing, Naruto's clothes were torn into several holes, and a trace of blood mist was also raised. Uncle. I can't seem to stop. Naruto himself couldn't describe his current condition. The method of using wind attribute chakra to attack the door is indeed feasible. And with each level he passed, Naruto found that his strength increased a lot. The only strange thing was that he could clearly hear the thumping of his own heart. But he thought it shouldn't be a big problem. The only thing that bothered Naruto was he doesn't know how to stop. The moment the wind attribute chakra began to impact his meridians, the chakra in his body began to surge out uncontrollably. Chattering. The wind attribute chakra became stronger and stronger, directly creating a strong wind around Naruto, raising a cloud of dust and rapidly reducing the visual range. Kakashi's hair was blown by the strong wind. He covered his face with his hands and tried to walk towards Naruto's position. There is no way. The strength of Naruto's wind attribute chakra is now no less than that of wind style. Fierce gale palm. Kakashi pulled off his blindfold and used his Sharingan to observe what was happening inside Naruto's body. It would have been better if he hadn't seen it, but after seeing it, Kakashi was almost scared to death. The chakra in Naruto's body is obviously out of control. You should know that this situation will only occur when the research fails, and this situation will often cause the caster to be torn to death by the uncontrolled chakra. Besides, he also heard Naruto's heartbeat. Kakashi roughly estimated that the heart beat at least 500 times per minute. You know, if a normal person's heart beats more than 300 times, he or she will soon die. However, Naruto, who was standing in the eye of the wind, was completely unaware of the seriousness of the problem, and instead became happy. Because he used wind-style chakra to break through the several levels that Kakashi mentioned. Naruto excitedly shouted to Kakashi, "Uncle! I think I successfully opened the first door." "What did you say?" Kakashi lost his composure and yelled, feeling terrible. "I didn't tell you the detailed route just now. How on earth do you drive it, kid?" Before Kakashi could be shocked for long, a large blood mist was created by Naruto's wind escape. From an outsider's perspective, Naruto had become a bloody man, with wounds all over his body. However, these pains were nothing to Naruto. Now he just feels that he is terribly strong. He took a light step and appeared 50 meters away in the blink of an eye, leaving a red afterimage behind him. Kakashi's eyes widened. What the hell? Did he really master it? Ju Lama in the sealed space was also startled and stopped eating. What is this kid doing? Chapter 24. The Nine-Tails Jinchuriki almost died by hitting his head against the barrier. Ju Lama was grilling meat happily in the sealed space. Little did he know that the kid would actually do as he said. Can you study ninjutsu blindly? Even someone like Kurama who doesn't know ninjutsu knows that if he is not careful while studying ninjutsu, he may die. Not to mention Naruto, the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, even if the Ten-Tails Jinchuriki let his chakra go out of control, he would still die in the end. However, not only did this guy not die on the spot, he actually managed to create something. This is what shocked Ju Lama. Although it could feel that the kid's vitality was rapidly declining, at the same time its tailed beast chakra was uncontrollably repairing Naruto's body. As one side gains strength while the other loses strength, Naruto really won't die for a while. Kakashi felt that he had never lost his composure like this in his life. What kind of monster is this child? Follow the chakra running route he gave me to open the 8 gates of Dunjia. It's good enough that you're not dead. He had never thought that this situation would happen before. Kakashi felt that if Naruto continued like this, he would be torn to pieces by the violent chakra sooner or later. There is no good meat left on his body now. If he hadn't recovered quickly, he would have died when he used this technique just now. How could he move like he is now? How could Naruto hear what Kakashi said at this moment? His ears were filled with the whistling sound of the wind. Naruto estimated that his current strength should be about 3 times that of his normal state. Both speed and strength have been greatly increased. I just don't know why the chakra is consumed so quickly. If Kurama knew what this kid was thinking, he would have to complain about Naruto. If this kid didn't have a lot of chakra, and if he didn't draw the chakra of the tailed beast to repair his body. Just wait for death. Too strong. Naruto actually has no concrete idea of his own strength now, and he has never seen how powerful the 8 Gates ninjutsu is when it is used. Anyway, he just feels that he is very strong now. Naruto glanced at the woods ahead and immediately thought of a way to test his own strength. He slowly bent down, put his hands on the ground, and made a starting posture, ready to test his limits. Uzumaki Naruto. Stop it now. Seeing him like this, Kakashi was really scared to death by the kid. The 3rd generation told me to keep a good eye on Naruto. Who knew that this child could always give him something different to play with? When Naruto moved just now, he used his Sharingan to see that Naruto's body had reached its limit. Now looking at him like this. Do you still want to test your speed with all your strength? Please, don't do it. Kakashi doesn't want to see Naruto's body soon, and he doesn't want to hear the news of Konoha Village's 9 Tails Jinchuriki's death tomorrow. If the 3rd generation knew that he had brought a child to death, he would definitely be in big trouble. Boom. As soon as Kakashi finished speaking, he heard a loud noise in his ears, and then saw Naruto flying out dragging a red light and shadow. Along the way, he was so powerful that all obstacles blocking his way were cleared away directly. Moreover, a big hole had been created where Naruto was just now. This level is comparable to Tsunade's super strength. Kakashi covered his face and sighed helplessly. It's over, I'm in big trouble. He had already begun to imagine the scene in the future where he would go to the Pure Land and be pinned to the ground and beaten by his teacher and his mistress. At this time, the Sandai had just finished lunch at home and was walking on the streets of Konoha with his hands behind his back. When he returned at noon, he happened to see Naruto and Kakashi studying ninjutsu, which made him very happy. Good thing. This kid finally stopped practicing taijutsu. Kakashi is such a reliable ninja. The 3rd generation was in a very good mood today and even ate an extra bowl of rice when he got home. Boom. Suddenly, a loud noise was heard from the east of the village. The 3rd generation opened his eyes wide and appeared on the roof in a few flashes. What happened? The Anbu also appeared around the 3rd generation at this time. They looked at each other, and no one dared to speak first. The 3rd generation looked at them as if they wanted to say something but hesitated, and immediately frowned and scolded them. Say it. Is it Kumogakure? Or Iwagakure? Humph. That's too much. How dare you attack our village during peacetime? The 3rd generation didn't even need to think about it, as such a big commotion was most likely caused by that group of reckless men in union. That. Mr. Sandai. It's the 9 Tails Jinchuriki. Ahem. What did you say? 3 generations are so angry, and you tell me it was caused by one of your family members. This kid is making such a big fuss. Is he planning to defect? After thinking for 2 seconds and finding that he had no clue at all, Sandai decided to go and take a look himself. He looked to the east and saw that trees and buildings were constantly being destroyed. The 3rd generation even began to suspect that the tailed beasts were out of control. At the same time, the Anbu ninjas of Konoha village rushed towards Naruto's direction, and many Jonin and Root ninjas also rushed over. For no other reason. This red figure was almost rushing towards the village's barrier. It's so cool. I'm so fierce. Naruto ran wildly and found that his speed was too fast to be seen with the naked eye. At this moment, he even felt like he had become the Flash. I ran out of the red tail tape, so why doesn't it count? Dong dong dong. But Naruto found that his heartbeat seemed to be getting faster and faster. Little ghost, there are quite a few people coming in your direction. Naruto suddenly heard the fox in his stomach say something. But he couldn't see the surrounding scenery clearly now, let alone see who was coming. One more thing. Because the speed was too fast, Naruto could no longer control his body and could only keep moving forward. Even if you want to stop, you can only slow down gradually, but it still takes a lot of time. Naruto. Stop now, there is the village barrier ahead. Uzumaki Naruto. Stop it now. All the ninjas from the entire Konoha village who could come came. The last time they all went out together was on the night of the Nine Tails Rebellion. Third generation. Kakashi instantly appeared in front of the third Hokage, his face full of embarrassment. He had seen the expression on Sandai's face that seemed to say, "Is this how you take care of my child?" What happened? Naruto used a forbidden technique out of nowhere, and it got out of control. He can't stop now. If we don't stop it, Naruto might die from his chakra runaway. After hearing this, Sandai's blood pressure suddenly rose. He began to grope around under his body in a panic, and then he realized that he didn't bring his antihypertensive medicine with him. What did Kakashi say? Weren't you practicing ninjutsu by the river at noon? Why did it turn out like this? I went to have a meal by myself. How come I heard that the Nine Tails Jinchuriki was about to die right after I came here? The third generation took a deep breath. He felt that he was almost going to die. I'm going to be pissed off by Kakashi and Naruto. Use defensive ninjutsu to stop Naruto. This speed hits the barrier. I guess he will be killed before his chakra runs out of control. With the order from the third generation, a large number of ninjas around disappeared on the spot. At this moment, all the ninjas in Konoha village united again. In order to prevent the Nine Tails Jinchuriki from Konoha village from crashing into the barrier and dying. 2 done. 2 Liubi. Water escape. Water formation wall. Countless ninjas performed defensive ninjutsu at the same time in front of the barrier. Earth walls were erected from the east side of the barrier, and in front of the earth walls there were several water walls specifically to slow down Naruto's speed. The scene was so grand that everyone in the village thought that an alien ninja village was coming to attack the village. Naruto, who was about to reach the barrier, finally saw the scenery clearly, but from his perspective. Why is everything blue ahead? Just as it was making such a loud noise, he suddenly felt water splashing on his face. Then I heard bangs and the sound of bones breaking. Before he could even scream out in pain, Naruto fell to the ground, his eyes turned black and he lost consciousness. Naruto crashed into 10 earth walls in a row before he stopped. Looking back at the route he came from. This kid had plowed a ditch about 10 meters long on the east side of the village, and wherever he went was a mess. The third generation walked slowly to Naruto with a sour face. To be honest, he felt that the child would not survive. The third Hokage was very worried. While he couldn't bear Naruto's death, he was also worried that there was no suitable Nine Tails Jinchuriki in the village. This child can't survive. Then there is a high probability that Konoha village will lose the Nine Tails. The third generation felt that since the birth of Naruto, the situation in Konoha village was getting worse day by day. He walked up to Naruto and found that the boy was breathing in more than out, and it seemed that the meal was almost about to start. But there is still a glimmer of hope in the hearts of the third generation. Then a dozen medical ninjas surrounded Naruto and began to check his injuries. What's going on now? Third generation. This child's bones are all broken, and his internal condition is even worse. His heart has stopped. He has already. Just when the medical ninja was about to announce Naruto's death, he suddenly heard the sound of the child's heart beating again. Wait. It looks like he can still be saved. Chapter 25. You are the worst Jinchuriki I have ever led. 1 month later. Fortunately, the Nine Tails Jinchuriki of Konoha village survived. When the child was sent to the hospital, any medical ninja who saw Naruto's condition would shake his head and wave his hands. Everyone was sure that the child would not live long, but within a week, the patient's vital signs returned to normal. Then the hospital said that the child was useless. Seeing that all the bones in his body were broken, he would have to spend the rest of his life in the hospital. But a week later, the hospital found that not only had the child's bones recovered completely, but there was no trace of scars on his body. The entire Konoha hospital began to doubt life. If I didn't know, I would have thought Konoha had created some miracle of ninja medicine. Everyone also refreshed their understanding of this child's recovery ability. Konoha Hospital was established during Tsunade's time, and most medical ninjas survived from that era. They had seen the previous Nine Tails Jinchuriki, Uzumaki Kushina, and some of them had even seen the first Nine Tails Jinchuriki, Uzumaki Mito. If we replace the two previous Nine Tails Jinchuriki, and considering Naruto's age and the injuries he suffered, they can start the meal right away. In short, this Nine Tails Jinchuriki is extremely outrageous. In the sealed space. Big Fox, when do you think I can wake up? Naruto was lying on the sofa, holding the barbecue he had snatched from the fox in his left hand and a freshly chilled grape sparkling drink in his right hand. Ever since he fell into a coma, his consciousness had entered the sealed space. When Kurama saw Naruto, he immediately started to attack him. It really wants to piss this kid off to death. You don't even know what kind of ninjutsu you are doing. If it weren't for my chakra holding on to the boy's last breath, he would have gone to the Pure Land to meet Uzumaki Kushina by now. And his lifelong reputation will be destroyed in the hands of this kid. When Kurama thought of Konoha's Nine Tails Jinchuriki crashing into the village barrier and dying, he felt his chakra rushing straight to his head. If the other tailed beasts knew this, they would laugh at me for the rest of my life. You are the worst Jinchuriki I have ever seen. Naruto turned to look at the giant fox when he heard that, shock written all over his face. Why does this sound so much like what my former class teacher said? You are the worst class of students I have ever taught. Teacher Ju suddenly felt a sense of oppression. Once you recover, double your training. As my Jinchuriki, you are too weak. When I was your age, I was much stronger than you. While eating skewers, Ju Lama began to preach to his students. After hearing this, Naruto didn't know how to refute this guy. How dare you say that? How can you, a 6-year-old tailed beast, compete with me? Naruto didn't know what to say about the big fox, for he was afraid of angering the fox again. After Naruto finished eating, he found that his body had recovered a lot. The reason why he has an abnormal recovery physique, in addition to the Uzumaki clan bloodline and the tailed beast chakra, is inseparable from the use of the magic dragon meat that can restore his mind and body since he was a child. Moreover, within the past month, Naruto found that even eating in the sealed space would help his injuries. Big Fox, can't you give me a break? I haven't had a break since I started practicing chakra. Naruto thought about it and found that his current life seemed to be even more difficult than when he was a corporate slave in his previous life. At least in my previous life, I could have 1 or 2 days of rest a month. But Teacher Ju is different. There is no time to rest in 7 days a week. Now I have to train more after my injury recovers. He is still a child. Can you consider your child's mental health? Humph. Kurama ignored Naruto's protests. Become stronger. You were the one who brought it up first. It's time for this kid to get out. Kurama stopped eating the skewers, glanced at Naruto and said in a buzzing voice, "Little boy, look over there." Naruto saw the big fox pointing to the left and subconsciously turned his head to look. Then Ju Lama slapped him out of the sealed space. On the hospital bed, Naruto was wrapped like a mummy. His eyelids fluttered and he sat up suddenly from the bed. It's careless. Naruto woke up and gritted his teeth, shouting in his heart that the fox was despicable. She actually drove him out of the sealed space when he wasn't paying attention. He was looking forward to waking up, but when he learned that he would have to practice more later, he might as well slack off in the sealed space. The sunlight shone through the window onto Naruto's face. Although it was not strong, Naruto still found it a little dazzling. Naruto raised his hands to slightly cover his eyes, looked out the window through the gaps between his palms, and his heart calmed down. It's great to be alive. He sighed, then noticed the bedside table filled with greeting cards and a fruit basket filled with bananas and apples. After a quick look, I found that most of the stories were written by Hinata, a little lowly. There were also some by Kakashi, Shikamaru, Choji, Inuzuka Kiba, Ino. Okay. How come there's even Sakura's? And he remembered that he didn't seem to have talked to his classmates at all. Never mind. None of this matters anymore. Naruto picked up an apple from the fruit basket, wiped it on his clothes, and took a bite. It was only during this process that he discovered that the patient in the bed next to him. Uchiha Sasuke. Why is he here? Naruto saw Sasuke next to him and was so surprised that he stopped eating his apple. And this guy looks a bit demented. Sasuke was lying on the bed, not unconscious, but with his eyes open, but his eyes were lifeless and empty, and his expression was dull. And many more. Naruto's eyes suddenly widened and he paused again while eating the apple. Sasuke looks like this. The Uchiha clan was destroyed. He originally planned to say hello to Sasuke, but after realizing that the Uchiha clan had been exterminated, he decided not to do so. Who knows, if he goes up to them now, he might accidentally say something that might irritate others again. However, Naruto felt a little sympathetic towards Sasuke. The family used to live happily, but no one knew what had happened to their brother. He just came and killed all the Uchiha clan members. And he is my favorite brother. It is indeed very painful. Looking back on Sasuke's life, it seems that he is the only normal person in the ninja world. Instead, it was the prince in the original novel. It's really hard to put it into words. Especially the scene where Black Zetsu mocks Obito. He really is stupid. If it were his turn, he would definitely stand with Black Zetsu and laugh at Obito. After that, he would steal Obito's tribute every year. Where can one come up with a sentence like, "I don't allow you to laugh at Obito"? Naruto sighed as he looked at Sasuke's appearance. After all, I had a fight with him before, so he is one of the few people of my age that I know. The only people of Naruto's age who are familiar to him in the entire village are Hinata and Uchiha Sasuke. He wanted to comfort the child a little bit now, but unfortunately he didn't have any skills to comfort others. After thinking about it, Naruto took out a golden apple from the system. This thing can restore a small amount of spirit and health. But for Naruto, he never eats this kind of thing, so taking it out now is just to comfort this guy. Naruto first took out a set of clothes from the system and changed into them, then tiptoed to Sasuke's bedside table and gently put down the golden apple. During the whole process, he didn't make any sound, and Sasuke on the hospital bed was still staring at the ceiling in a daze. Seeing him like this, Naruto didn't say much, kept quiet and left the ward. Just a few minutes after he left, Sasuke's eyes regained some spirit. He turned his head and looked at the golden apple on the cabinet for a long time. Finally, he picked up the golden apple, buried his head deeply in the quilt, and murmured something in a crying voice. Chapter 26. I hope that Jiraiya can discipline this child well in the future. Did you hear that? The Nine-Tails Jinchuriki almost died when he crashed into the barrier. No, I heard that he was going to commit suicide. In the end, they were stopped by the third Hokage and several hundred ninjas. Ah. Why is the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki still so upset? As soon as Naruto walked out of the ward, he heard several nurses gathered together and started whispering. He was still talking about Konoha Village's Nine-Tails Jinchuriki committing suicide, and now he was about to crash into the barrier. There were all kinds of outrageous statements, and Naruto's face twitched as he listened to them. He felt extremely ashamed. Blame it on Kakashi Hatake. Naruto didn't care how the news spread, he just felt it was right to put the blame on Kakashi. If Kakashi had stopped himself, this situation wouldn't have happened. Naruto was walking in the corridor of the hospital and found that people were constantly looking at him with strange eyes, and they were laughing at him while talking. Naruto looked so happy that he wanted to find a crack in the ground to crawl into. I never thought that after keeping a low profile for so long, I would become famous in the village in this way. In order to avoid the strange looks from the hospital, Naruto found a deserted place and jumped down from the 5th floor. He didn't consider at all that he had just recovered. The moment he landed, Naruto even felt that his physique was stronger than before. Based on his previous physical condition, he would have sprained his ankle if he fell from the 5th floor. And now there is nothing wrong. I seem to be going further and further down the path of perversion. Naruto sighed, walking aimlessly on the streets of Konoha. The Sandai got the news that Naruto was discharged from the hospital, and his mood improved a little, but he heard that this kid jumped from the 5th floor of the hospital just after waking up. He felt his blood pressure rising again. Is there anyone who can take good care of this child? Anyway, he no longer expects Kakashi to look favorably upon Naruto. This time, Konoha village was just a little bit away from losing the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. The only hope the 3rd generation can have now is to find Jiraiya, who is traveling outside. After all, Jiraiya is Naruto's father's teacher. It is no problem for him to teach his own father, so it should be easy for him to teach Minato's son. The 3rd generation looked out the window and blew out a smoke ring. He looked a lot older during this period of time. Let's wait until Naruto graduates first. There are still 5 years left, it will be over if we just endure it. When the time comes, bring Jiraiya back to take care of the child. Naruto-kun, are you okay? In the classroom, Hinata turned around and found her deskmate appeared in the classroom. Although she didn't say much, Naruto could feel the joy in the girl's heart. Hinata-chan, thank you for the card. And fruit. After hearing what Naruto said, the little girl was so shy that she started stuttering again. Naruto grinned subconsciously when he saw her like this. Then I thought about the previous appointment with Hinata. He had agreed with Hinata some time ago to practice together after school, but later he ran off to find that green-skinned uncle and stayed in the hospital for another month. I felt really bad for standing up the girl for so long. If this happened to his ex-girlfriend in his previous life, she would nag him for the whole day if he was 10 minutes late for a date. Look at Hinata again. Not only did he not have any complaints, he also came to the hospital to see me from time to time. It can be seen from the fresh fruits on the bedside table in the ward. Hinata comes to see me quite frequently. It can be said that Hinata is the most suitable candidate for Naruto's wife. Hinata, I'll pick you up after school. I promised you that we could practice together. Hinata's mind started to feel dizzy when she heard Naruto's first words. Pick me up, a date. Before Naruto could finish his words, Hinata fell on the desk with a thud and fainted. This is really hard for Naruto to handle. How come training made her faint from embarrassment? He didn't understand, but seeing the little girl fainted on the desk, he was worried that she would have a sore neck when she woke up, so he took out a little bare pillow from the system and gently lifted her head and placed it on the pillow. He doesn't care about the feelings of other students in the class at all. However, the class has almost gotten used to Naruto, a guy who often skips classes. Everyone was surprised when Uzumaki Naruto came to the classroom. Iruka on the stage was so angry that his head was buzzing when he saw the two guys flirting with each other behind him. But he couldn't say anything about these two guys. One is the eldest daughter of the Hyuga clan in the village, and the other is the 2nd generation of the village Kage. How can he manage this? Just out of sight, out of mind. Force yourself not to see it. Anyway, the 3rd generation also told me not to worry about that kid. After lunch, Naruto opened the space gate and went home to have a meal, then returned to the grove east of the village. The environment here was destroyed beyond recognition by a certain Jinchuriki, and only a few sparse trees were left in the forest. As for the wooden house that the enthusiastic villagers had built for Naruto, it had disappeared. The debris on the ground might be proof that there had once been a small wooden house here. It's no exaggeration to say that this place is a garbage dump. It's a bit bad. Naruto took a few glances before lamenting how destructive he was at that time. He was really a little overwhelmed in this situation. How about changing places? He scratched his chin and muttered to himself, but after thinking about it for a while he found it a little unreliable. It can be imagined that after he lost control last time, his reputation in the village should have become worse than before. He sincerely felt that it was good enough that the village did not ask him to compensate for the losses. I want to find another place to waste. Naruto was really worried that Konoha village would expel him and make him a rebel ninja. After thinking for a while, I decided to clean up the place. No matter what, it's your own fault and you have to pay for it yourself. It's all about farming anyway, and as a veteran farming player, he is very familiar with this. Taking out a diamond axe from the system, Naruto raised the axe and took a quick look at the enchanted properties. Diamond axe. Attack power 42. Enchantment effect. Felling speed 70%. Open black lens bracket durable skeptical smiley face close black lens bracket. Although the enchanted attribute of this axe is single, this value can be said to be the highest one Naruto has obtained so far. Moreover, the purpose of an axe is to chop down trees, why make it so fancy? Kid, it's time for training. What are you doing with that axe? When Kurama saw Naruto coming to the training ground, he began to remind him, but he didn't expect that this kid would take out an axe. You can't use this as a weapon. I'll clean up here a bit. Also, I don't have to hammer the tree today, right? Naruto glanced at the saplings around him. The meaning of his words was obvious. Normally, those big trees were not big enough for him to pound for 3 days, and this small sapling that was not even the size of his wrist did not arouse his interest at all. Kurama thought what Naruto said made sense, and after a moment's silence, he said to him, "Did you see those fallen trees on the ground? Pull 3 trees and clean them up while carrying the load." Naruto was speechless for a moment. Each of the fallen trees on the ground looked to weigh about 200 pounds. If you say you can carry a tree, that's fine. Isn't it a bit difficult for the children to plant 3 trees at once? Big Fox, how about we discuss this? He wanted to bargain with the fox, but got no response from the big fox. Obviously, Teacher Ju disagreed. With a soft sigh, Naruto pulled out a bundle of ropes and began to weight himself down. After he finished, he realized that he used a whole set of ropes to tie himself and the 3 trees tightly. But when he really took the first step, his entire neck turned red and he couldn't take the first step. The 3 trees behind him seemed to have no intention of moving. The axe in his hand was still half a meter away from the broken trees nearby. The 3rd generation saw through the crystal ball that Naruto was holding an axe and dragging 3 trees behind him. He closed his eyes with difficulty, not daring to continue looking. It's fine that he smashed the tree before, he also tolerated the demolition in the village. But what is this kid doing now? Is this carrying weight? Which ninja does this? Can't you just buy some weight-bearing equipment? This kid. The 3 generations didn't dare to think about it too much. They felt their blood pressure rising again, so they quickly took out antihypertensive drugs from the drawer and took them. He no longer wanted to use the crystal ball to see the child's condition. The 3rd generation was really afraid that one day Naruto would make him so angry that he would have a cerebral hemorrhage. Chapter 27 What the hell? Why doesn't the illusion work? That evening, Naruto untied the ropes on his body and ended the weight training with Sensei 9. But the bad situation in the grove didn't improve at all. Because he was dragging a load of 600 or 700 kilograms behind him, Mingren only took 1 step the entire afternoon. Not to mention carrying the load and cleaning up at the same time. Looking at the mess around him, Naruto felt that he would have to spend some time tidying it up in the evening. It's a pity that I haven't learned the multiple shadow clone technique yet, otherwise it would only take minutes to clean up here. After resting for a few minutes, Naruto threw out the space gate and returned to the classroom. At this time, Hinata was the only one left in the class, and she was a little excited to see Naruto coming. Before Hinata could finish her greeting, Naruto took her hand and pulled her into the space gate. Then she felt a flash before her eyes, and the scene changed from the classroom to the outdoors. Seeing broken trees, rubble, and various garbage on the ground, Hinata looked at Naruto with some admiration. The situation at the scene tells of Naruto's daily hard training. Naruto, good effort. I will also practice hard. Hinata mustered up the courage to finally speak a complete sentence. She wants to keep up with Naruto and become stronger together with him. But she suddenly found that her hand was still held by the other person, and she turned into a steam girl again. It's only now that the resistance has become higher. In the past, there was a high probability that he would faint directly. Seeing the shy look on the little girl's face, Naruto quickly let go of her hand. Hearing her just praising him, he smiled awkwardly. Ha ha ha. Actually, it's okay. It's okay. The practice was indeed hard, but it almost destroyed the village. Just as Naruto was about to say something, he spotted a familiar figure walking towards his position. Just by looking at the Uchiha clan's signature hedgehog head, Naruto knew that Sasuke was coming. He was holding a paper bag in his hand, and his expression didn't look as stupid as before. Hinata glanced at Sasuke's figure, then looked at Naruto beside her, and somehow felt a little lost. I thought he was with Naruto. Sasuke slowly walked up to Naruto, looking very upset. He stuffed the paper bag into Naruto's arms without caring whether Naruto agreed or not. For you. Glancing down at the contents of the bag, Naruto saw that they were apples. Is this child giving me a return gift? I didn't find any golden apples in the village. After giving it to Naruto, Sasuke added that he was afraid that Naruto would dislike the apple he gave him. When he ate the golden apple, he clearly felt that his mental state and injuries had recovered a lot. Naturally, I know that the gift from the other party is precious. Naruto grinned when he heard what Sasuke said, then wiped an apple and handed it to Hinata, and threw another one to Sasuke. Finally, he picked up an apple and started eating it. Sasuke didn't think too much of it, he just picked up the apple and started to eat it. To be honest, it was the first time that Naruto received a gift. Although it was just a very ordinary apple that could not compare to the things in his system, he still felt happy. However, as Naruto was chewing, he noticed that Sasuke seemed to want to say something but hesitated. This kid couldn't hide anything on his face. You came to see me, what's the matter? While eating the apple given by others, Naruto's tone was not as aggressive as when he met Sasuke before. Plus, he had beaten up Sasuke before, and now he was sitting with him, so he felt a little awkward. Uzumaki Naruto, let's fight again. Naruto was stunned, totally not understanding why Sasuke said that. Even if you open your eyes, you may not be able to beat me. So you are here to get bullied. Even Hinata looked at Naruto curiously. Because from what Sasuke said, it can be heard that they had fought before. Hinata is also very curious about how strong Naruto is. Are you serious? Naruto found that Sasuke was looking at him sincerely, and the pride he had when they first met was no longer there. It seems that the night of genocide changed him. Naruto felt that the child was quite pitiful, but as someone who had experienced peace in his previous life, he really couldn't understand how much pain Sasuke was in. Even after coming to this world, Naruto didn't get to see what his parents looked like before they passed away. To say there is affection is a bit ridiculous. I want to see the gap between us. It is good. Naruto quickly finished the apple, then patted the dirt off his butt and stood up. The two communicated briefly and to the point, and within the time it took them to reach the open space and stand opposite each other. Ever since the night of his clan annihilation, Sasuke has calmed down and accepted the fact that he is weak, so that he can find his shortcomings and make up for them. Among his peers, Sasuke thinks Naruto is the strongest. Besides, I only know Uzumaki Naruto. The two looked at each other and formed the seal of opposition at the same time. The moment he raised his eyes, Sasuke had already opened his Sharingan. Naruto looked at the 1 and 2 Magatama in the other person's left eye, and for a moment he didn't know how to complain. This kid only opened 1 Magatama on the night of the genocide, and it was the one for his right eye. And many more. Can't look him in the eyes. After realizing that he couldn't look into the Sharingan's eyes, Naruto turned his head to the side. Feeling that it was not safe enough, he even took out sunglasses from the system and put them on. Big Fox. Help me check the other party's position. Ju Lama in the sealed space raised his eyelids and ignored him. But Naruto knew that the big fox agreed. With sunglasses on, you can't tell whether you have your eyes closed or not. He planned to rely on the big fox's reminder to fight Sasuke when facing the enemy head-on, and then open his eyes and kill him when he appeared behind Sasuke. Sasuke was stunned for 3 seconds when he saw Naruto wearing sunglasses. Because he found that his Sharingan illusion had no effect at all. Sasuke stared at Naruto with his Sharingan and used illusions 5 or 6 times, but Naruto acted as if nothing had happened and didn't look like he was under an illusion at all. Why is this happening? Can sunglasses defend against illusions? Sasuke suddenly felt that this world was a little absurd. Realizing that the illusion had no effect, Sasuke immediately waved his hands and threw out several shurikens and kunai. The illusion is just the first step, and the thrown objects are also used to test Naruto. Sasuke emptied his ninja tool bag and immediately began to make hand seals. Naruto, who was not far away, moved his ears slightly. He heard the sound of breaking air in the air. He didn't need the big fox's reminder to know that Sasuke threw a projectile to attack him. This time, he was not going to take out the big iron gate and try to hold it like he did before. Naruto threw out 3 space gates in front of him, and the purple light cocoon covered his figure. All the ninja tools thrown by Sasuke were immersed in it and disappeared. The purple light shone on Sasuke and Hinata's faces in the sunset, and both of them showed surprise. So awesome. Hinata covered her mouth and kept exclaiming softly. She didn't expect Naruto could use this ability in this way. Sasuke was shocked and his pupils dilated, and he instantly realized something was wrong. Chapter 28 Naruto and Hasho 39's turn-based taijutsu style. 3 purple light cocoons suddenly unfolded around Sasuke, and all the ninja tools that had just been thrown flew towards him. The sudden change made Sasuke cancel the fire escape technique immediately. Because he understands. Since Naruto can transfer the ninja tools he threw, he must be able to transfer his own ninjutsu. Damn. Why is this guy so strong? Before coming here, Sasuke actually still had a fluke mentality in his heart, but now seeing Naruto's proficiency in using this technique, it immediately caused despair to rise in his heart. Fortunately, Sasuke had only thrown out more than 20 shurikens and kunai just now. His Sharingan was spinning rapidly, and his dynamic vision was also at its best at this moment. At this moment, the attack trajectories of the shurikens and kunai seemed to become crisscrossing silk threads in his eyes, and Sasuke could clearly see where each thread landed. I see. Sasuke was delighted and dodged 2 or 3 somersaults in succession, then did a few sidesteps. At this moment, he seemed to be dancing in a jungle full of thorns. However, Naruto's evaluation of this can be described in just 4 words: flashy. The light gate opened again, still in Sasuke's blind spot. After dodging the attack, Sasuke suddenly felt a chill on his back and subconsciously squatted down, which just happened to avoid Naruto's side kick. That's a bit sharp. Naruto sighed slightly when he noticed that Sasuke had dodged his attack. Although he didn't want to admit it, Sasuke's reaction ability was indeed better than his. Perhaps this is the enhancement brought by the Sharingan. The first time he fought Sasuke, he couldn't avoid his sneak attack at all. However, Naruto was only slightly surprised. He has never been afraid when it comes to physical skills. It can be said that in the future in the entire Konoha village, Might Guy may not be his opponent in terms of physical skills. In short, Naruto has absolute confidence in his physical skills. Maybe his taijutsu is average. But he really dared to fight with the enemy to see who had stronger vitality. Naruto had already made up his mind that if he met a ninja whom he couldn't defeat in the future, he would grab the opponent and stab each other with kunai. You take a moment, I take a moment. Naruto can guarantee 1000% that he will be the one standing in the end. Snapped. Sasuke turned around, swung his shoulder, and punched Naruto on the left cheek. Although Naruto was slow to react, he still managed to block Sasuke's attack in time. Not only was he able to block it, he also grabbed Sasuke's wrist and brought him towards himself. Sasuke, who suddenly lost control of his body, started to knee Naruto without thinking. Then, the battle between the two instantly turned into a round-based one. Naruto grabbed Sasuke's hand with one hand and used the tree-punching fist with the other hand. While Sasuke was being attacked, he did not forget to hit Naruto's lower abdomen with his knee. After 3 rounds, Naruto was like nothing happened, and his punches became faster and faster. If he hadn't given Sasuke some face, he would have really mocked Sasuke for not having eaten. The force of the kick on himself was not enough to scratch his itch. At this time, Sasuke not only turned into a pig's head again, but his head was also dizzy, and even his feet stopped moving. In a trance, Sasuke felt like he was back to the first time he was pinned to the ground and beaten by Naruto. This moment is just like that moment. With Naruto's last punch, Sasuke finally lost consciousness and collapsed to the ground. Until the moment he lost consciousness, he still didn't understand why he attacked so hard, but Naruto didn't react at all. Hinata watched the whole process and was so surprised that she could hardly close her mouth. Especially Naruto's purple jutsu. At first she thought it was just an ordinary ninjutsu for quick travel. The moment Hinata saw Naruto deflect Sasuke's attack, she realized the horror of this technique. And Naruto's taijutsu. She didn't know how to describe it, but it was very strong. During the battle just now, Hinata put herself in the shoes of Sasuke. However, she found that once she was pulled into close combat by Naruto, she would not be able to exert any strength at all, and her fate would most likely be similar to Sasuke's. But Hinata felt that if it was herself who was sparring with Naruto just now, Naruto would definitely not be willing to beat her so badly. However, now she was more worried about whether Naruto was injured. Naruto-kun. Hinata ran to Naruto obediently and circled around him, only feeling relieved after making sure that he was not injured. I am okay. Naruto pounded his chest to show that he was fine. If we quantify his and Sasuke's health points, Sasuke's damage is not as fast as his passive health recovery. And he can clear Sasuke's health bar with just 3 or 2 normal attacks. There is no comparison. After looking at the unconscious Sasuke on the ground, Naruto took out a bottle of life potion from the system space, pinched the boy's face and poured the potion into his mouth. Cough cough cough. Cough cough. After a while, Sasuke was choking and coughing, and his body twitched on the ground like a spring. The injuries on his face were recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. Hinata rolled her eyes wide when she saw this magical scene. So awesome. Naruto-kun, I won't tell anyone else. Hinata suddenly came to her senses and quickly added. In her knowledge, there seemed to be nothing in the ninja world that could heal injuries, so she naturally understood that the water Naruto had just given Sasuke was very precious. Hinata's serious look on her face really tickled Naruto. He raised his hand and touched Hinata's little head, while thinking in his heart how many children he would have in the future. Hinata blushed again out of shyness, her head tilted, and she was about to faint. Wait. Don't faint yet. Naruto was in a dilemma. There was someone who had just woken up on the ground. It was getting dark, and Hinata fainted and she probably wouldn't wake up for a while. What if someone from the Hyuga family sees this? Rizu Leodeng estimated that he would be so angry that he would attack himself on the spot. I'm fine. Hinata bit her lower lip, using the pain to keep herself awake, but this made Naruto want to rub her head even more. Sasuke, who had just sat up from the ground, looked at the two guys' strange behavior with an expressionless face. He touched his cheek and found that the pain he had felt before had long since disappeared. When Sasuke woke up, his first reaction was to think that this was a dream. If he hadn't seen Naruto and Hinata, he would have thought he was dreaming. But why are all the injuries on my body healed? After rolling up his sleeves and checking again and again, Sasuke found that he had no injuries on his body. Even the scars from that night were gone. Sasuke thought about it for a long time but couldn't figure it out, and finally couldn't help but interrupt Naruto and Hinata, who were whispering on the side. My injuries. How did you do it? Sasuke recalled how he was choked awake just now, as if Naruto had given him something to drink. It's hard to say how effective it is, but Sasuke thinks it tastes pretty good. It's sweet and stimulating, and tastes better than the soda in the village. Sasuke looked at the apple beside him and suddenly remembered the golden apple that Naruto had given him before. The recovery effect of what I just drank is obviously better than that of the golden apple, and it is definitely more precious than the golden apple. After realizing this problem, Sasuke felt that the question he had just asked was somewhat presumptuous. It's not polite to pry into other people's secrets at will. Sorry, I was too talkative. The fight is over now. I have to take Hinata home first. You can go back by yourself. Naruto looked at the sky and it was getting late. If he didn't send Hinata back, he was really worried that the Hyuga clan would hunt him down. Moreover, he felt that in this situation, the third-generation old man would most likely not stand on his side. Naruto threw out a space gate and was about to leave with Hinata, but Sasuke stopped him. And many more. Will you let me practice with you? Sasuke said this with a hint of pleading. As long as I can become stronger. I'm willing to do anything. Chapter 29. This yellow-haired guy is like this now. I dare not imagine what he will do in the future. You go back first. Let's talk about it tomorrow. It is good. Naruto said without looking back, holding Hinata's hand and stepping into the light gate and disappearing. He was still a little surprised that Sasuke came to see him. After all, judging from Sasuke's previous arrogant attitude, he would probably just try to become stronger on his own, and would never come running to me. But Naruto actually really needs a teammate. If Sasuke's strength cannot keep up with his, then he will have to fight against the Akatsuki organization alone and finally defeat the Otsutsuki clan alone. You can obviously team up to start a group, why bother going through the trouble of playing alone? Moreover, Sasuke can be said to be the biggest cheater besides himself, and it doesn't take much time to train him. When the time comes and they both grow up, they will fight no matter who Otsutsuki Momoshiki or Ishiki comes. As soon as Naruto passed through the space gate and arrived at the Hyuga clan's territory, he saw Hiashi Leodang standing in the middle of the gate with his arms folded. He could smell the anger on this guy from a long distance away. When Hiashi saw Naruto and Hinata, he didn't say anything, but just stood there and watched them. Not only was he watching, but the Hyuga clan members also noticed and stood outside, staring at Naruto. From the blue veins on their foreheads, it was clear that all the Hyuga clan members were rolling their eyes. The atmosphere at the scene suddenly became solemn, and Hinata felt that it was becoming difficult to breathe. Naruto had the illusion that he had accidentally entered a gang's base. The only difference was that these Hyuga people didn't have machetes in their hands. He was really worried that in the next second some Hyuga clan member would jump out and shout, "Big brother," or "Kill this kid," or something like that. Hinata lowered her head and walked timidly to Hiashi, looking back at Naruto from time to time as she walked. And Naruto seemed to feel that the temperature around him had dropped a lot. Where did you go? Although Hiashi was asking Hinata, his eyes were fixed on a yellow-haired man. In the eyes of the Hyuga clan, my eldest daughter went out to hang out with some yellow-haired guy after school, and now she is back after dark. This young boy, who is only 6 or 7 years old, has done such a thing. They dare not imagine what he will do in the future. If the clan leader hadn't ordered everyone not to attack the yellow-haired guy, they would have rushed up to beat him up. Who would care that you are the son of the 4th Hokage and the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki? Facing her strict father, Hinata lowered her head and was speechless for a while. You know, today is the only time in a long time that she has come home so late. Hinata is going to practice with me. Come with me after school from now on. Naruto smiled and explained to Hinata Hiashi innocently. As for whether Rizu Leodang listened to it or not, he didn't know. However, he found that Rizu Leodang rolled his eyes after hearing what he said. Let's go back. Your mother is waiting for you in the living room. Rizu glared at the yellow-haired man in front of him, then turned around and went back with his daughter. The surrounding Hyuga clan members also left when they saw this. But everyone's expression was full of regret, as if they were regretting not finding a chance to take action against the yellow-haired guy. Hinata followed behind her father, turned her head and smiled at Naru, then waved twice gently to say goodbye. She didn't dare move too much, for fear that her father in front of her would notice. Naruto smiled back at Hinata. After watching her go back, Naruto went out of the space gate and went home for dinner. At night, he spent several hours cleaning up the trash in the grove. Then he took out oak and spruce trees from the system space and forcibly planted them nearby to serve as his own training equipment in the future. You know, trees have so many uses. You can use it as a sandbag for training, and later you can use it to step on trees to train your chakra control ability. If you want to get rich, you can't live without it. By almost midnight, the dense forest on the east side of the village had returned to its former glory. Due to the system's external adaptation rules, the trees planted by Naruto looked no different from other trees. The third generation in the office heard the report from the Anbu that Naruto had created a large forest in less than one night, and his efficiency was comparable to that of the first generation, Hashirama Senju. He now didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He was indeed happy that Naruto could restore the environment that he had destroyed before. But he really doesn't like Naruto farming. Why does this kid always have a problem with wood? And his strange bloodline limit. The third generation always felt that this child had a better talent for farming than for being a ninja. He has figured it out now. Unless it's a serious matter, he will not use the crystal ball to check on the child's condition. Instead, he should listen to the reports from the Anbu. This way, he will feel a little better. If I watch it every day like before. The Sandai really thought he wouldn't live long enough for Jiraiya to return to the village. The next morning, Naruto went to class to clock in and stare blankly as usual. Sometimes he was really desperate about his abnormal physique. I pulled up trees all afternoon yesterday, had a fight with Sasuke in the evening, and cleaned up the site and planted trees at night. When he returned home, he felt as tired as a dead dog and even moving his fingers was painful. But when he woke up the next day, he found that nothing had happened. He couldn't even find an excuse to skip training. Seeing him like this, Teacher Ju even wanted to increase the intensity a bit. Okay. Naruto, who was thinking, found that Sasuke was already standing in front of his seat. When I looked up, I found that my classmates were no longer in the classroom. The get out of class is over. But Sasuke is looking for me at this time. Does he want to skip class with him? You want to skip class with me? Well, there's nothing left in the ninja school that can make me stronger. Sasuke said. He had already learned all the courses in the ninja school in advance, including the three-body technique and various theoretical knowledge. If it weren't for Naruto still being in school, he would have wanted to graduate early. Okay, let's go. Naruto nodded, went out to find Hinata and said goodbye, then opened the space gate and led Sasuke to the grove by the river. Sasuke was still thinking about Naruto's technique, trying to see if he could learn anything from it. But let's be honest. The moment he walked into the light gate, he secretly opened his Sharingan, but he didn't detect any chakra fluctuations. In the end, Sasuke could only blame himself for not having the talent for space-time ninjutsu. He had looked up information before and heard that practicing this kind of ninjutsu requires extremely high talent. For all these years, the entire Konoha village has only had the second Hokage and the fourth Hokage. And Naruto is the son of the fourth generation. Judging from his talent in this area alone, Sasuke feels that he is no match for Naruto. He wanted to surpass Naruto. The Sharingan must be evolved to the same level as that man. However, 7-year-old Uchiha Sasuke had no idea that Naruto was a monster. As for now, Sasuke wanted to see how Naruto usually trained. How should I do? Naruto pointed at a big tree not far away, with the attitude of a senior instructing a junior. But he was worried that the child didn't know how to hit the tree, so Naruto started to demonstrate it on the spot with 2 bang bang sounds. Sasuke nodded slightly, walked over to Naruto without any hesitation, and started pounding the tree, imitating him. Then, the river bank was filled with the sound of bang bang, one after another, and if you listened carefully you could even hear the rhythm. The Anbu responsible for monitoring Naruto, especially Kakashi, felt a headache when they heard the sound of the two children pounding the tree. It's fine if you, the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, hit the tree, but why did you bring other children with you? Do you really think that others have the same abnormal physique as you? Kakashi was so tired. The thought of quitting the Anbu position began to dawn on me. Chapter 30. The 3-year period has arrived. From that day on, there was a new student named Uchiha Sasuke in the class who skipped classes. As the homeroom teacher, Iruka's face now has a few more wrinkles than before. In the grove by the river, there were also bang-bang sounds and the sound of people dragging trees. At the beginning, Sasuke was almost exhausted after punching trees all day. Fortunately, Naruto provided him with a special recovery potion. After discovering that Naruto's potion had miraculous effects, Sasuke fought as desperately as Naruto. He may not be as perverted as Naruto, but he still imitated Naruto and dragged a tree to complete weight training. If he couldn't drag 3 or 4 trees, he would drag 1. Now a riverbed has almost been plowed out for the two children on the east side of the village. Even Might Guy couldn't stand the level of his birth. During this period, the third-generation old man couldn't stand it anymore, so Tokakashi sent 2 sets of weight-bearing equipment. Since those weight-bearing equipment are made of special metal, their weight is basically the same as the weight of the tree dragged by Naruto. The third generation thought that since they all have this stuff, these 2 kids wouldn't have to continue dragging trees, right? The results of it. Naruto said that he would not train like before, and then he put on the weight equipment and started to drag the tree. Seeing that the child had grown crooked, the third generation completely gave up on taking care of Naruto and simply designated the area east of the village as a training location for the 2 children to prevent them from going to other places and destroying the village. Konoha village really can't stand the harm from these 2 guys. As for Hinata, Naruto was very considerate and didn't dare to let her go crazy like himself and Sasuke. He gave her a sandbag and a wooden dummy, and accompanied Hinata in physical training from time to time. The days of cultivation are always boring, and 6 years passed in a flash. This year, Naruto was 12 years old. Sasuke, Hinata, look at the chakra in my body. Naruto sat cross-legged on the ground, closed his eyes and began to use the wind chakra in his body to rush towards the door. During these 6 years, he never gave up the previous technique. He continued to improve his Byakugan and Sharingan step by step, while improving the amount of wind-style chakra, and working with the giant fox to modify the roots running in his body. Naruto also named this technique as wind-style blood violence technique. At first, when he performed this technique, the situation was similar to the first time. Since his physique was stronger than before, he directly shattered Konoha's barrier. I remember that all 3 generations were so angry that they fainted. However, Naruto was able to control the wind chakra in his body to some extent, and use it at his full strength without endangering his own life. Finally, it was discovered that the extreme state of wind-style blood violence technique could only be maintained for 15 seconds. If there are more, he will fall into a near-death state. In order to confirm the strength of this technique, Naruto even asked Might Guy to evaluate it. At that time, Might Guy thought that Naruto was a genius. The state of his self-created wind-style blood violence technique was no less than the state of his own opening 3 gates. But as he watched, Might Guy realized something was wrong. Because no one except Naruto dares to practice this technique. Normal people learn this technique. Then we have to mention Danzo of the Root. When the 3rd Hokage learned that Naruto had developed this technique, he immediately listed the wind-style blood violence technique as an A- level forbidden technique, and the technique was also classified as a ninja physical technique. However, the old man of the 3rd generation did not treat Naruto unfairly. He directly took out a sealing scroll and let him choose a forbidden technique to learn. I had hoped that this kid would take the initiative to learn Flying Thunder God. Unexpectedly, Naruto chose the A-level forbidden technique, multiple shadow clone technique. As for why I didn't learn Flying Thunder God, Naruto said he really didn't understand. However, no one expected that Danzo secretly learned this ninjutsu from Naruto. As for what the situation was, no one knew, but since the root leader had disappeared from the third generation's site for 3 years, we knew that this guy must have been seriously injured. When the third generation heard from the root ninja that Danzo was practicing wind style blood violence technique, he was instantly turned into a bloody man. It sounds miserable. After finally confirming that this ninjutsu could only be learned by someone with the same abnormal recovery ability as Naruto, the third generation deleted this ninjutsu without any hesitation. He didn't want any child to learn this technique out of curiosity and then die suddenly on the spot at a young age. Naruto, move the root closer to the heart, Sasuke said seriously with his Sharingan glaring. To be honest, he thought Naruto's technique was great, but it was a pity that he didn't have wind attribute chakra. Otherwise he has to learn one anyway. Naruto-kun, there's more chakra. Hinata and Sasuke stood on Naruto's left and right, constantly reminding him. As time passed, a large amount of wind attribute chakra emerged from Naruto's pores, along with a large amount of blood mist. From a distance, Naruto looked like he was wrapped in a red cover. Sasuke and Hinata, who were sitting next to him, protected their faces with their hands and used chakra to steady their steps so as not to be blown away by the air wave. This power. Have you reached the 4th gate of the 8 gates? Sasuke opened his mouth, unsure of what to say. Before, in order to let the 3 children know the power of the 8 gates, Kai specially opened the 4th gate for them to see. Now Naruto's aura alone has reached the state when Kai opened the 4th gate. Naruto-kun, you've become stronger again. Hinata felt happy but also felt useless. She had tried very hard when she was young, but no matter what she did, she could not catch up with Naruto's speed of becoming stronger. Even Uchiha Sasuke is stronger than me. Naruto slowly opened his eyes and then cancelled the wind style blood violence technique. By now he has been able to perform this technique skillfully for 1 minute, with the side effect of losing strength for half an hour. As for wind style blood violence technique, he can perform it about 3 times a day. No matter how many there are, Naruto can't handle it. Today at noon is the school graduation exam. Mr. Iruka asked you not to forget it. Hinata suddenly remembered this and quickly explained it to them. But the girl began to worry again. I wonder if I can be assigned to the same class with Naruto. Well, let's go back to school. Naruto glanced at Sasuke, then at Hinata. According to Fox's calculations, Sasuke's chakra capacity after opening the double Magatama Sharingan has reached 80 magic, almost reaching the amount when he first started practicing. Hinata's chakra is a little bit worse, around 50 magic. There's no way, Hinata really can't compare with these 2 idiots. As for Naruto, his current chakra level has reached 270 magic. According to the Big Fox's observations over the years, there are only a few people in the entire Konoha village who have such chakra. The only one with more than 200 magic chakras is the 3rd generation old man. This actually surprised Naruto. But it's normal to think about it. After all, an old man who is proficient in 5 kinds of escape techniques can't play well without enough chakra. The 3 of them walked through the space gate and came to the classroom, where they found that some students had already arrived in the classroom to prepare. Sakura looked at Sasuke and fell into infatuation again. Open black lens bracket close black lens bracket. Sasuke is handsome again. I like it so much. Shikamaru saw Naruto raised his head and greeted the 3 of them weakly. Although we haven't seen Naruto and Sasuke much in recent years, we can still talk to them on weekdays. After a while, Iruka came in through the door with a list under his arm and a worried look on his face. When he looked up and saw the 3 people in the back row, his expression relaxed and he even showed a long-lost smile on his face. Finally, Uzumaki Naruto and Uchiha Sasuke are finally graduating. Iruka is really worried that these 2 guys will corrupt the kids in the class. As for whether they would fail the exam, Iruka never thought about it. Now the whole Konoha village knows that these two children have plowed a river to the east of the village. With that kind of strength, they shouldn't be staying in the ninja school. Everyone, get ready. When your name is called, go to the next classroom to take the 3 body techniques test. Chapter 31 Kakashi. Damn. Why me? Naruto then passed the 3 body technique test successfully. The plot where Shwimu bewitched me never happened. When Naruto was about to graduate, he was still expecting Mizuki to find him. At least he can still act with Mizuki teacher, and at least get some free ninjutsu from the Forbidden Scroll. Who would have thought that a few months ago, teacher Mizuki was taken away by the Anbu for investigation because he had an affair with the traitor Orochimaru without telling the village. But think about it, there is no chance that Shwimu could seduce me. Now almost everyone in the village knows that he is the 4th generation son. Although he may not have a very good reputation because he has been involved in frequent demolitions in the village in recent years. But all in all, the villagers of Konoha just avoided him and did not hate him like in the original work, nor did they refuse to sell things to him. In fact, Naruto didn't know that the reason those villagers didn't cause much trouble was purely because Naruto's power was too terrifying. At the beginning, when Naruto was 6 or 7 years old, he swung the tree vigorously, which left a deep impression on the villagers. I guess the whole family had to eat on the spot when he hit the tree with the stick. How dare I look for Naruto's affairs? It was also because of this that Mizuki could not find any opportunity to sow discord between the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki and the village. Naruto felt like he was losing out when he thought about the fact that he couldn't learn ninjutsu for free. When he was changing ninjutsu before, he really wanted to learn his father's Flying Thunder God technique, but the key problem was that he really couldn't understand it. Those densely packed ceiling spells are as confusing as math problems. But he did write it down and we'll see if he can learn it when he has the chance in the future. There is also the technique of multiplying blasting talismans, which Naruto is also very envious of, but the old man of the 3rd Hokage said he would not let him learn it no matter what. He said he was worried that he would destroy the entire Konoha village. Naruto got angry just thinking about it now. Am I such a clueless person? Naruto's sigh caught Sasuke's attention. You didn't do well in the exam. How can it be? Sasuke's words made Naruto anxious. Although my theoretical performance in the ninja school was poor, I was number 1 in practical combat. How could I possibly not do well in the exam? Sasuke felt relieved after hearing Naruto's answer, but then a hint of worry appeared on his face again. Do you think we'll be grouped together? He thought it was best to be in the same class with Naruto, and the others were really too weak. Did you see that pink-haired guy? Naruto pointed at Sakura and continued speaking to Sasuke. I, Uzumaki Naruto, count with my fingers. It's very likely that I, you, and the pink-haired girl will be grouped together. Hinata, who had pricked up her ears to eavesdrop, had a dimmed look in her eyes. Can't I be grouped with Naruto-kun? Hyuga Hinata, Aburame Shino, Inuzuka Kiba, the 3 of you follow me. At this time, Big Wave Shiri Hong pushed open the door, called out the names of the 3 people, and left the classroom without looking back. After hearing her name, Hinata left the classroom, looking back every few steps. She was so reluctant to leave. If Naruto hadn't encouraged the girl, she probably wouldn't have wanted to walk out of the door. As the Jonin took their students away, the previously full class gradually became empty. Only Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura were left in the classroom. You want me to be Naruto's leading Jonin? In the Hokage's office, Kakashi rarely showed any emotion. Seeing that the other party was very willing, the 3rd generation smiled awkwardly. He had asked other Jonin these days, but the answers he got were all that they were unwilling. Uzumaki Naruto's ability to stir up trouble in the village is well known in Konoha village. At the beginning, all of them, the senior ninjas, had agreed to resolutely resist Uzumaki Naruto, the troublemaker. Of course, as long as Kakashi and Might Guy don't know. After the 3rd generation was rejected by other Jonin, he naturally turned his attention to his beloved subordinate, Kakashi Hatake. Besides, after all, Uzumaki Naruto is your teacher's son. You shouldn't refuse him for both public and private reasons, right? How about I should just go back to Anbu? Kakashi said this with difficulty, but when he saw the serious expression on the Sandame's face, he knew that this was definitely impossible. In fact, he had a premonition about the third Hokage's arrangement a long time ago. When he was asked to take care of Naruto, he vaguely felt that something was wrong. The two were in a stalemate for a long time, and finally agreed to the task amid Kakashi's sighs. Kakashi held his eyes open and walked towards the classroom where Naruto and the others were, looking like he had lost his dream. Blah. As the classroom door opened, Naruto could smell the smell of salted fish on Kakashi from a distance. Will everyone look like Kakashi when they reach middle age? I am your leading jonin, Hatake Kakashi. Please give me more advice in the future. The moment Sakura saw Kakashi, she finally confirmed that she and Sasuke were in the same class, and she started punching and cheering wildly in her heart. Open black lens bracket marvelous, close black lens bracket. Really grouped together with Sasuke, close black lens bracket. I have a great chance. That stinky girl Ino, go eat your fart. Sasuke nodded slightly to show respect. He had heard of the genius Kakashi in the village. He was quite satisfied with himself as a jonin. When Naruto heard what Kakashi said, he pulled the corner of his mouth and said with a strange look on his face, Uncle Kakashi, we are so familiar with each other, there is no need to be so formal, right? His familiarity really gave Kakashi a headache. If there is any way. Kakashi really didn't want to take care of this child, even though he was his teacher's child. You should call me Kakashi-sensei now. Come all with me. After he finished speaking, he put his hands in his pockets and tilted his head to signal the three to follow him. Naruto followed behind Kakashi and was very disdainful of what he had just said. And you want me to call you teacher? Just wait, you white-haired Zongdang. From then on, there were three of them, one studied under Orochimaru, one became a disciple of Tsunade, and I went to find Jiraiya. When the time comes, we will really count by seniority. They are the disciples of the three ninjas, their father is Jiraiya's disciple, and Kakashi is his father's disciple. After becoming Jiraiya's apprentice, Naruto asked Kakashi to call him, Uncle Master. The group came to the rooftop. Sakura was looking at Sasuke like a fangirl, Sasuke was trying to be cool with a straight face, and Naruto was thinking about what to eat tonight. Kakashi leaned on the railing, looking at his subordinates, feeling that the future was worrying. I just mentioned my name. Hatake Kakashi, there is nothing I like, and there is nothing I hate. Dreams, not even that. After he finished speaking, he began to stare at the three people, and his eyes seemed to ask them to introduce themselves. Naruto didn't know how to complain about Kakashi. How could someone introduce themselves in such a strange way? Uchiha Sasuke, I like training, I hate a lot of things, my dream is kill that man, and defeat Naruto. Naruto. How come defeating me has become your dream? They had fought each other countless times in the past 6 years, but Sasuke had never won once. I don't know when Sasuke decided to pursue Naruto. In Sasuke's opinion, if he couldn't even defeat Naruto, let alone kill that man. Now Sasuke's dream has been changed from revitalizing the Uchiha clan to defeating Naruto. My name is Haruno Sakura, I hate Ino. This girl would steal a glance at Sasuke every time she spoke, and the meaning of her words was very obvious. Sasuke, with a poker face, completely ignored the girl's feelings and turned to look at Naruto. The interaction between the two made Kakashi and Naruto feel a little awkward. Naruto then cleared his throat and introduced himself. Uzumaki Naruto, likes Hyuga Hinata, and Taneda. Hate the masked guy and the guy who's late. Kakashi's heart tightened. Could it be that this kid was pointing at him? You don't need to tell others that you like Hyuga Hinata, the whole Konoha village knows it. World peace. After hearing Naruto's dream, the three of them turned to look at him. Sasuke didn't understand why he would say such profound words, and Sakura was still admiring Ming's courage to speak out about his love just now. World peace. Kakashi murmured softly, as if he saw the shadow of his teacher in Naruto again. Once upon a time, his teacher Minato Namikaze also said something similar. It seems that Naruto has really grown up. Kakashi suddenly felt relieved. Perhaps now he should get to know Naruto again. After all, you can't always look at others with the same eyes as before. Maybe this child won't be as naughty as before when he grows up. After coming to his senses, Kakashi returned to his indifferent state again and spoke. The mission will begin tomorrow, and it will also be an assessment of the three of you. This is an extremely difficult test with a 66% elimination rate. You all will gather at the training ground at 5 in the morning. Remember to bring your ninja tools, and be prepared to die. Chapter 32 Battle Plan. What is that? Sasuke and Sakura became nervous when they heard that they had to be prepared to die. Both of them had serious expressions. Having experienced death, Sasuke naturally knows the meaning of the word, death. Naruto was speechless as he looked at Kakashi's leaving back. If I hadn't watched Naruto, I would have believed it. The ancestral tradition of grabbing bells. All these random things. If you have the guts, then you can make us fail the exam, and then we can all start fighting together and wait for Madara-sama's Tsukuyomi. And be prepared to die. He felt that Kakashi had to be aware of this first, otherwise he would not be joking with Kakashi when he punched him. Go home. Naruto threw out a space door and was about to go back. The two people next to him glanced at him sideways, but they could not see any nervousness on Naruto's face. Naruto, aren't you worried about tomorrow's mission? Sakura's words made Sasuke nod, as if he wanted to know what Naruto was planning. Naruto said nonchalantly, "It doesn't matter. Just lie down and Sasuke and I will take you flying." This is a bit discouraging, but what Naruto said is also true. If he and Sasuke get serious, Kakashi may not be able to beat them. As for Sakura, it's just an optional accessory. Sakura's expression froze, and her mind began to race. Damn Uzumaki Naruto. How dare you look down on me? Tomorrow I'll show you how powerful I am. When Sasuke heard Naruto's confident words, he changed from his previous nervous look and felt that tomorrow's mission was suddenly secure. He and Naruto have known each other for such a long time, but he has never seen Naruto dare to say anything he is not sure of. You go back by yourself. I won't practice today. See you tomorrow. It is good. After saying that, Naruto stepped into the light gate and disappeared in front of the two people. Sasuke lowered his head, put his hands in his pockets, and turned away without saying hello to Sakura. Sasuke, are you sure you'll be okay tomorrow? Sakura took the opportunity to run over to Sasuke and look for a topic to talk about. Don't worry, Naruto and I are very strong. Sasuke said without looking back, and walked away even faster. He was in a hurry to go to the east side of the village for training, so he had no time to play love games with this pink-haired girl. Sakura looked at Sasuke's departing figure, and thought of what he had just said. For a moment, she felt that she was a little redundant. Early the next morning, the three little ones arrived at the training ground early to wait. Sasuke and Sakura came especially early, arriving before 5 o'clock. On the contrary, it was Naruto who opened a space gate and came to the training ground when he saw that it was almost 5 o'clock. As for why you arrived on time. In fact, Naruto was not sure whether Kakashi would be late. After all, many things have changed since he came into this world. God knows whether Kakashi will suddenly arrive on time. The three of them stood there for a while, yawning continuously, and Naruto checked the time and saw that it was almost 6 o'clock, so the white-haired Chunin would probably not arrive until noon. Thinking of this, Naruto simply took out stones from the space, built a stone house on the spot, and took out a bed and placed it in the room. He looked back at Sasuke, put another bed in the place, then lay down on it and fell into a deep sleep. Sasuke was no longer surprised by Naruto's situation. When he saw the extra bed in the stone house, he lay down on it without thinking and started to rest. Sakura saw Naruto first take out something strange, then saw a stone house appear in front of her in less than 10 minutes, and then saw her two teammates go in and sleep very carefreely. To be honest, she was petrified. How did they do this? Why did a stone house suddenly appear? Sakura asked subconsciously, but the only response she got was the snoring of her two teammates. Now she is totally unstoppable. Sakura's mind has already started thinking. Who am I? Where am I? What am I going to do today? It took her a while to realize that today she was going to carry out the mission that Kakashi-sensei had mentioned. But why is Kakashi-sensei not here even after an hour late? And his teammates not only conjured up a stone house, but also fell asleep on the spot. What the hell is this? Kakashi, who was hiding in the dark, was in a similar state to Sakura at the moment. He slapped himself on the forehead and sighed deeply. I knew it. I knew this would happen. Kakashi watched Naruto grow up and is very familiar with his strange bloodline limit. According to the previous assessment process, he would first warn the three not to eat breakfast today, and then ask them to share 2 lunch boxes to test their unity. But the key point is, Naruto is like a mobile cafeteria. The previous process simply doesn't work for him. When the time comes, let 3 people eat 2 bento boxes. Kakashi has no doubt that the child can directly prepare various feasts. So Kakashi had no intention of testing the 3 people with the bento issue from the beginning. And he wanted to leave the 3 people there for a few hours and then see how they would react. The result is, all I can say is that it was exactly what Kakashi had expected. With Naruto around, there's no way I can do well in the assessment. Kakashi now regrets agreeing to take care of these 3 children. Oh, forget it. Just get started. Kakashi felt uncomfortable looking at Naruto and Sasuke sleeping soundly in the stone house. It was clearly a test for 3 people, but in the end Naruto messed it up like this. It was really frustrating. Kakashi felt even more uncomfortable, especially since he was squatting in the grass and enduring mosquito bites. Kakashi sighed and disappeared instantly. Sakura was just leaning against the wall and preparing to take a nap when she saw Kakashi appear in front of her and greet her. Sakura was so scared that she immediately jumped up from the ground and kept bowing and apologizing to Kakashi, unaware that someone was almost 2 hours late. Sorry. Kakashi-sensei, I didn't fall asleep on purpose. Sakura's attitude gave Kakashi some comfort. As expected, this girl was the most normal one in her team. Seeing Sakura's appearance, and then looking at the other 2. Go and wake them up. Okay. Sakura began to sweat drop when she heard this. It's over. Leaving a bad impression on Kakashi-sensei on the first mission. It's over. We will definitely not pass the assessment. It's all Naruto's fault. Sakura walked into the stone house dejectedly, and saw the 2 guys sleeping soundly on the bed, with the veins on her forehead twitching. Sasuke, Naruto. Kakashi-sensei is here. The 2 were sleeping, but when they heard the noise, they immediately jumped up and took a defensive posture. Naruto rubbed his eyes and looked at the time. It was not yet 7 o'clock. And many more. Kakashi took the wrong medicine. Why are you here so early? Naruto folded up the bed in the room, yawned and walked out, then saw Kakashi looking at the sky, seemingly thinking about life. Morning, Kakashi-sensei. Kakashi turned his head and looked Naruto up and down, and almost took action. What on earth is wrong with this child? If I didn't know this child, I would definitely have to send him back to the ninja school to study again. Kakashi sighed, then pulled out a bell from his waist and placed it in front of the 3 people. Your mission today. Just grab the bell from me. It counts as passing the test. If you don't meet them, you will be deemed unqualified and will be sent back to the ninja school to repeat the year. I'll give you 3 minutes to prepare. Sasuke and Sakura looked a little strange when they heard this. Isn't it said to be prepared for death? Result, that's it. Sasuke never considered the possibility of failure. After all, he was no longer the crying, weak child on the night of the genocide. He is very strong now. Not to mention an absurdly strong teammate. Naruto, Sasuke. Let's make a battle plan. Sakura was very happy because this was what she was best at. The two of them turned their heads to look at her at the same time, and countless question marks seemed to appear in their eyes. Battle plan. What it is? Naruto's combat strategy has been reckless from the beginning to the end. There is no such word as battle plan in his dictionary. However, Sakura did not notice the abnormality of her two teammates, and squatted down to start analyzing the situation. Kakashi-sensei is a Jonin. If we want to defeat him head-on, it's simply impossible. So, Teacher Kakashi, let's get started. It's been a long time since I last practiced with you. Naruto interrupted the girl's analysis and spoke excitedly. He has been waiting for this day for a long time. Naruto trembled with excitement at the thought of being able to avenge his previous humiliation. Sasuke next to him agreed with Naruto's approach very much. He liked this simple and rough approach. As for the battle plan, in Naruto's words, it's just fancy stuff. Kakashi's eyelids twitched when he heard that. It seems like there is no spirit of unity among my subordinates. Having a reckless man in the team is very troublesome. Looking at Uchiha Sasuke's appearance, he has probably been led astray by Naruto. As for Sakura, these two people don't take me seriously at all. Sakura was suddenly interrupted by her teammates and felt very embarrassed. She also saw Naruto and Sasuke's attitude towards her. Open black lens bracket, damn it, close black lens bracket. I was actually ignored. I will let you see how powerful I am later. In that case, then let's get started. Kakashi changed his previous lazy appearance and instantly entered combat mode. He didn't know how strong Sasuke was. But if he doesn't take Naruto seriously, it's really possible that I'll suffer a great loss at the hands of this kid. Chapter 33. Almost killed Kakashi with one punch. Seeing her two teammates eager to try, Sakura quickly took out a kunai from her ninja tool bag and held it in front of her. She still has some idea in her mind. Teacher Kakashi is the team's leading Jonin. No matter how strong you are, can you defeat the other party? Why can't we discuss how to grab the bell? Sakura is extremely troubled by her two teammates. But Naruto and Sasuke are different. The two of them had the goal of defeating Kakashi from the beginning. Stealing the bell was just a side job. Naruto and Sasuke looked at each other and decided to strike first. The two of them have become extremely tacitly connected after years of contact. Basically, you can know what the other person wants to express just by looking at them. It is no exaggeration to say that it is encrypted communication. Naruto slightly hooked his fingers, and dozens of light gates instantly opened up around Kakashi. Over the years, Naruto has discovered his shortcomings through constant fighting and made up for them. For example, opening a space door. In the past, when he used it, his hands would always swing uncontrollably, and the enemy could tell something was wrong at a glance when they saw the hand shaking before casting the spell. In the end, Naruto practiced hard for half a year before he finally changed his habit of swaying forward. Another striking feature of the space door is, Naruto also thought of a solution. As long as you open enough space doors, the other party will not be able to predict which door you will come out from. It can confuse the enemy while exerting mental pressure on them, which is a unique effect. When Kakashi saw the dazzling number of space gates around him, cold sweat began to flow down his forehead. Even Naruto himself did not expect this move, it was so confusing. You have to know that it was me who told Naruto how to use this technique. Has Naruto already mastered this technique to such an extent? It's really a bit troublesome. Kakashi sighed softly, his expression showing a hint of solemnity. He obviously felt the intensity Naruto had put on him. Not only did he have to be prepared for Naruto and Sasuke to appear in his blind spot at the same time, he also had to guard against ninjutsu that could appear in the light gate at any time. Naruto was not worried because he knew that the child had only learned a few ninjutsu. As for Sasuke, there is a high probability that he will use throwing techniques and fire escape to attack himself. Sakura, who was standing by, began to doubt her life when she saw dozens of light gates around her. Most of the ninjas in Konoha village knew that Naruto could use this technique. But she had never seen Naruto open so many in a row. As she ranked first in theory, she naturally knew the benefits of doing so. Sakura's brain CPU almost burned up just by looking at the light gates around Kakashi. Just kidding. This guy is a monster. Naruto chuckled and formed seals with his hands. Multiple shadow clone technique. Bang bang bang. Hundreds of clones instantly appeared at the scene, and Kakashi's eyes widened. How much chakra does this kid have? Naruto's clones were so numerous that they blocked Kakashi's vision. His field of vision was completely covered by a group of yellow-haired people. Sasuke and Sakura can also be seen there. Even the purple light gate was blocked. Now Kakashi can only rely on the memory in his mind to determine the location of those light gates. Go together. Kill this white-haired guy. Come on. The clones shouted one by one and pressed towards Kakashi, squeezing his dodge range. It seems that I can only rely on physical skills. Kakashi took out a kunai and was holding it in his hand. Then he leaned forward slightly, kicked his legs, and rushed towards the group of yellow-haired people. This is the only solution available. After all, Naruto cannot compare to the veteran ninja Kakashi in terms of physical skills. From the moment the two sides started fighting, the number of clones began to decrease at a speed visible to the naked eye. On average, a clone would be defeated after just 3 moves from Kakashi. Call. Just as Kakashi was hitting the ground, a fireball suddenly flew from his side. The clones jumped to Kakashi in perfect harmony and held his limbs tightly, hoping to restrain him for just a second. Bang! When the fireball hit Kakashi, it raised a large cloud of dust, but there was no sign of Kakashi. Only a charred wooden stake was left on the ground. Earth release. Heart beheading technique. Sasuke opened his eyes slightly, and the sense of crisis made his hair stand on end. At this moment, Naruto's space gate appeared behind Sasuke in time, and purple light shone on Sasuke's face. He immediately reacted, leaned back and lay into the light gate and disappeared on the spot. The next moment, Kakashi appeared from Sasuke's position, feeling very depressed. I never thought that the time I taught Naruto how to use this technique would one day be used against him by this technique. The most difficult part is, until now he has not found Naruto's true form. Hiding in the dark and using space-time ninjutsu to avoid my attack, I didn't know what to do for a moment. It feels like those two kids are like skateboarding loaches. One can't find, one can't catch. What a headache. Thinking of this, Kakashi turned his gaze to Sakura, who was still standing there stupidly. Among the three, she is the weakest and the easiest to deal with. Any normal ninja would eliminate or control the weakest enemy in the team first. Kakashi disappeared instantly, ignoring the yellow-haired man behind him. Sakura. Enter the light gate. When Naruto saw Kakashi's expression, he knew that he hadn't held his fart well. The moment he disappeared, he began to remind Sakura, who was standing there stupidly, and a light door opened beside her. However, in this way, Naruto's real body was exposed to Kakashi's sight. Sasuke realized that his teammates were in danger, so he turned around, took out his ninja tools, and waved his hands to throw them into the nearest light gate. I have to say, Naruto's light gate is really useful. In the past, he had to consider whether various throwing angles could hit the enemy's vital points and whether the opponent would dodge. And now, he just threw ninja tools at the light gate, and left the issue of hitting the target to Naruto's light gate. When Sakura realized that she was in danger, Kakashi appeared in front of her, released an illusion on her, and then began to dodge the projectiles thrown from the light gate. Ding ding ding. The kunai and shurikens that kept falling at his feet really made Kakashi sweat. Too fast. The cooperation between these two children made his scalp tingle. If he had been a second late, he would have been pierced by Sasuke's ninja tools. But it's okay. The weakest of the three has been dealt with. Sakura, who was caught in the illusion, was now standing there. Her eyes were dull, and she showed a look of fear from time to time, and her body was shaking uncontrollably. Naruto and Sasuke were not surprised to see this scene. From the beginning, the two of them didn't have high expectations for Sakura. But they didn't expect. Kakashi is so shameless. Fighting a team of 3, you pick the weak ones first. Uzumaki could no longer hold back, so he opened a space gate around Kakashi and rushed forward. Teacher Kakashi, let me see your ability. Sasuke. Sasuke, who was about to launch an attack, was slightly stunned and his expression suddenly became a little strange. Naruto's words. Why is it so similar to what that man once said to me? Did he hear me talking in my sleep? Kakashi noticed Naruto's attack and quickly distanced himself from him. In this situation, if I continue to fight with Naruto, Sasuke will definitely find an opportunity to attack me. It seems that I can only use the Sharingan. Kakashi pulled up his eye mask and opened his 3 Magatama Sharingan. When Sasuke saw it, he immediately asked loudly and excitedly, "How do you have a Sharingan?" "Well, it's a gift from a friend." After replying to Sasuke indifferently, Kakashi used the instant body technique again and disappeared in front of Naruto. But there was no way Naruto would let him go. The teleportation technique is indeed very fast, but can it be as fast as my space gate? The next moment, when Kakashi appeared in the same place, Naruto had already followed him and punched Kakashi in the waist with an upper punch. Kakashi reacted very quickly and twisted his waist to grab Naruto's wrist. At this moment, the sweat on his forehead was dripping onto the ground. Almost. My happiness was almost destroyed by this child. Kakashi also became furious and kicked Naruto far away. But he found out. Naruto got up immediately after landing, and it didn't look like he was kicked hard by himself. A normal Jonin would need to take a while to recover after being kicked like that, right? Kakashi shouted again in his heart. What the hell did my master's wife give birth to? Fire release. Fireball technique. Sasuke's attack arrived in time, leaving Kakashi no chance to breathe. The moment the fire release was released, Sasuke moved forward and began to attack Kakashi with physical skills. However, what he didn't expect was, when Sasuke punched Kakashi, the opponent turned into lightning and disappeared on the spot, and Sasuke was temporarily paralyzed because of the lightning escape. Then Sasuke felt his feet sink and his whole body sank into the ground, leaving only his head outside. Now both Sasuke and Sakura have lost their fighting ability. Naruto stared at Kakashi not far away and once again assumed an attacking posture. When Kakashi saw his action, he suddenly smiled. This kid. Is he reenacting the scene when he fought against himself when he was 6 years old? Naruto moved lightly, made a strange cry, and then rushed towards Kakashi. However, when he was about to approach Kakashi, Naruto instantly entered the light gate. When Kakashi saw the other party disappear, he used the instant body technique without any hesitation and disappeared on the spot as well. The direction he moved was the light gate where Naruto had just disappeared. The next moment, Kakashi and Naruto appeared at the same time. The two were very close, so close that Kakashi could see the smile on Naruto's face. And many more. Did this kid let himself into the light gate on purpose? Boom. Naruto looked at Kakashi in front of him and smiled slightly, then before he could react, he punched Kakashi in the stomach. Fortunately, Kakashi finally reacted and used his arm to block Naruto's fist. But a crisp sound was heard by the two of them. Kakashi felt his arm go numb, followed by unbearable pain. He knew his right hand was broken. What kind of monster is this child? Kakashi knelt on the ground, resting his head on the ground, and did not move. It looked extremely painful. Kakashi-sensei, are you okay? Chapter 34 Kakashi CC, the past was the past. The present is the present. I'll be fine after a while. Kakashi's head was on the ground, so it was impossible to see his expression at the moment. But Naruto felt that he had been a little too harsh. Kakashi-sensei, have I analyzed your information well this time? Naruto said with his hands on his hips, looking very proud. Naruto recalled the time when he was 6 years old and was pinned to the ground by Kakashi, and then looked at Kakashi's appearance at this moment, and he just felt relaxed all over. I feel like I can have 3 big bowls of rice tonight. Naruto patted Kakashi's shoulder soothingly, then very naturally took the bell from his waist. Kakashi knelt on the ground. He didn't want to pay any attention to the child at all. Why did this damn kid hit me so hard? After all, I am an acquaintance of this child, right? If he hadn't reacted in time and blocked Naruto's fist with his hand, he had no doubt that he might be killed by this punch. Kakashi glanced at his right hand and felt that it would take him a few months to recover. I feel so tired. Whoever wants to lead Class 7 can do so. Anyway, he has to go back and fight with the third generation. After a while, Kakashi supported himself on his knees, stood up with difficulty, and said with a dull look on his face. You all passed. Disband. Kakashi announced, holding onto his arm, his body slightly hunched as he limped forward. Naruto couldn't bear to see the miserable appearance of the white-haired Chunin. After all, he had watched him grow up. Moreover, it was the other party who taught me how to use the space gate. Today, I failed to control my strength and almost got killed by Kakashi. Naruto also felt that it was a bit too much. Thinking of this, Naruto took out a bottle of life potion, hurriedly chased after him, then grabbed his sleeve and said, Kakashi-sensei, take this. As soon as he finished saying this, Naruto noticed that Kakashi's body was shaking. Naruto, don't pull my hand. Kakashi was really desperate. Not only was he injured by the genin he led, but he also had his broken arm grabbed by this kid. He really wanted to use Chidori on Naruto now. What? Feel sorry. After realizing that he grabbed the wrong place, Naruto scratched his head awkwardly and smiled awkwardly. It was obvious to heaven that he had not intentionally grabbed Kakashi's severed hand. Naruto then handed the life potion to him. Kakashi glanced at the kid and was confused as to what he was doing. This is a potion that can heal injuries. Kakashi-sensei, just go back and drink it. As if seeing the confusion in his eyes, Naruto kindly explained how to use it. Kakashi looked a little strange after hearing this. Are you kidding me? He still has some awareness of his injuries. Based on experience, his entire arm should be fractured and dislocated. In severe cases, bone fractures may occur. No matter how magical your medicine is, can it compare to the ninjutsu of the medical ninja? And even if it is effective, it is for external application at least, right? It sounds like what this kid said is not reliable. But considering his kindness and some guilt, Kakashi decided to accept the potion. I see. I just accepted the stuff. Remember to go back and take a full body photo. Gone. Kakashi still looked indifferent. After giving his instructions, he limped away from the scene with the life potion in his hand. Somehow, Naruto saw the same loneliness in Kakashi that he felt himself. Why is it different from what I expected? Naruto muttered as he watched Kakashi disappear. Although he defeated Kakashi, he was not as happy as he thought. What did you say? Fine. Sasuke appeared next to Naruto at some point. This guy was covered in mud, and there was a pungent earthy smell coming out of him from time to time. If you don't know, you might think this guy just rolled in the mud. It can be said to be very embarrassing. Also standing nearby was Sakura. She lowered her head and didn't dare to look at Naruto and Sasuke. Even when Sasuke is around, she doesn't become a fangirl anymore. There was no way. In the battle just now, the girl was really beaten all over by the two cheaters. She originally wanted to prove her strength. Who knew that once the battle started, not only did he stand there in a daze, but he also hindered Naruto and Sasuke. Sakura lowered her head, clenched the corners of her clothes tightly with both hands, and her body twitched occasionally. She said to them in a crying voice, I'm sorry. I really didn't mean it just now. I'm so sorry. Naruto saw that Sakura's feet were wet, and when he glanced at the way her shoulders were twitching he knew what was going on. He nudged Sasuke with his elbow and kept winking at him, as if to say, Brother, comfort your wife quickly. If I stay single, we won't be able to become relatives in the future. But Naruto's actions seemed weird in Sasuke's eyes. Boring. Sasuke replied indifferently, and it was unclear whether he really didn't understand or was pretending not to understand. In the end, it was Naruto who spoke up to comfort her. "Sakura, don't be depressed. A normal person is no match for Kakashi-sensei." "Sakura." The girl looked at the two of them in confusion with tears on her face, and she began to wonder in her heart. "So, neither of you are normal people?" Naruto just glanced at Sasuke's expressionless face, with a bit of contempt and sarcasm in his tone. "Hey, Sasuke, you were really too good just now, weren't you? I helped you dodge Kakashi-sensei's earth style heart decapitation technique once before. How did you get caught? Where's your fire style? Where's your shuriken throwing technique? Why did you only use it once? And your taijutsu?" Naruto's little mouth was as sweet as honey, and he started to criticize Sasuke non-stop. Just like in his previous life, when Naruto lost a team fight, he would scold his teammates. If it weren't for the fact that the other party's parents and entire clan were no longer around, Naruto would have to politely greet Sasuke's family tree. To be honest, although Naruto's words were harsh, Sasuke's performance this time was indeed too bad. He didn't perform at his usual level at all. Sasuke had a sour face and said nothing. He himself was not satisfied with the battle just now. "In the previous battle, not only did I have a low attack frequency, but I also didn't hit Kakashi at all." According to Naruto, throughout the entire battle, the damage he dealt was not even as much as Naruto's punch. After Naruto finished talking, Sasuke finally spoke. "Not next time." Hearing this, Naruto's face looked better. "Only. I've said so much and you only reply to me once." Sakura felt the pressure rising as she watched how her two teammates interacted with each other. She actually knew in her heart. The words Naruto used to comfort her just now were purely polite remarks made by someone they were not close to. "If you get to know this guy well, I will definitely be scolded by Naruto, right?" Chapter 35. "Kakashi, you have been a little lazy over the years. Forget it, I won't talk about you anymore. Go back and review it carefully." Naruto curled the corners of his mouth and said helplessly. He even wondered if he was being too harsh on Sasuke, or if he was forcing things to happen. "After all, if you really count, I am the #1 cheater in the world. Not only does he have the strongest tailed beast, Kurama, in his body, but he also has a huge amount of chakra from the Uzumaki clan. Plus I have my own system. As to whether he still has Ashura chakra in his body, it is unknown. On the other hand, Sasuke possesses the reincarnation chakra of Indra, the basic external Sharingan, and then he has an external assistant Uchiha Itachi, and a curse seal on Orochimaru. To be honest, Sasuke's strength growth rate in the early stage was really average. No wonder he went to study abroad with Orochimaru. Moreover, his plug-in cannot activate the Mangekyo Sharingan until at least after the Pacific battle. Just as Naruto was thinking about how to arrange career planning for Sasuke, Sasuke next to him spoke first. "Naruto, open the door. I'm going back to the river to practice." Sakura heard Sasuke speak and timidly raised her hand, and they both turned to look at the girl. "Can I practice with you guys? After all, we are teammates now." Naruto didn't comment, but turned to look at Sasuke to see what this guy had to say. Casual. Sasuke didn't care. After all, having a pink-haired boy wouldn't affect his and Naruto's training. As long as this guy doesn't bother me, it'll be fine. Naruto didn't care. After hearing Sasuke's agreement, he directly threw out a space gate. Sasuke rushed in before the light gate was fully opened, but Sakura hesitated for 2 seconds before following him in. At the same time, I was secretly delighted. Very good. It would be awesome to be able to train with Sasuke. Hey, you two remember to take pictures today. Kakashi-sensei said it's due tomorrow. Seeing that both of them were eager to leave, Naruto quickly reminded them. But after he said this, the light gate had disappeared, and he didn't know whether the two of them heard it. Naruto felt a little excited when he thought that he would officially become a ninja tomorrow. You know, since the first day he came into this world, he has been fantasizing about the moment when he becomes a ninja. This also means that the Naruto plot will officially begin. Naruto slowly raised his hand, clenched it towards the sun, and muttered to himself. Wait, then. Uchiha Obito, just wait for the day when I kill you. He is still brooding over that bastard Obito. Although his parents in this world were killed by Obito, Naruto didn't even see their specific appearance. It's really nonsense to say that there is any kind of emotion. Whenever Naruto felt curious about them, he would go to sit on the statue of the fourth Hokage on Hokage Rock for a while. But the statue really doesn't show my father's face clearly. However, based on the values of his previous life, Naruto still holds the irreconcilable hatred for the murderers of his father and mother. But the main thing, Naruto, who was held in Uchiha Obito's arms, really felt the threat of death. Although he had realized at that time that he had traveled to the Naruto world, who knew if any accidents would happen because of his arrival. At that time, he had just traveled through time and had finally escaped from the life of a corporate slave. It was such a damn unfair thing for him to die at the hands of Obito. Naruto recalled that scene and became more and more looking forward to his future journey as a ninja. Okay. Let's take a picture first. Let's go to Otsutsuki Ichiraku's and try some ramen. After arranging today's schedule, Naruto asked for leave from the Big Fox, and created a space gate on the spot to go find Hinata first. Hokage office. An empty bottle was placed in front of Sandai. Is everything you said true? Kakashi held his eyes open and said helplessly. When I drank the potion, I found that my arm had recovered and I went to the hospital to check the situation immediately. The medical ninja said that not only has the arm recovered, but the previous hidden injuries on the body are gone. Kakashi was really surprised by the bottle of potion Naruto took out. He hadn't taken this bottle of medicine seriously when he was walking from the training ground to the hospital just now. He basically understands Naruto's bloodline limit. He can conjure up all kinds of weird stuff, but there are few things related to ninjas. It cannot be said that it is completely useless, it can only be said that it is of no use at all. If it wasn't for the fact that he had just finished a battle and was very thirsty, and if this was not the only bottle of potion he had at hand, he would have drunk it all in one go. After drinking it, he found that his injuries were healed. Realizing that this was a serious matter, Kakashi first went to the doctor to check his body, and then ran to the third Hokage to report the situation. The third generation picked up the pipe, took a puff, and slowly blew out a smoke ring. Kakashi, what do you think about this? Kakashi was slightly stunned when asked. How else can I see? I use the Sharingan to see. Kakashi actually has mixed feelings about his current recovery from his injuries. To be honest. In fact, he would rather recuperate in the village for a few months and just let Class 7 go. This means taking Naruto out of the village. Who knows what kind of big trouble it might cause for yourself. But now that his injuries have healed, it means that he has to lead them on a mission again. I am so tired. I really want to read books at home. However, you still have to answer your boss's questions. Kakashi thought back to what happened and began to report to the third Hokage. This potion that Naruto took out. It should have yin and yang chakra properties. The moment I drank it, I clearly felt that I had recovered a lot both mentally and physically. Kakashi paused again at this point, then continued. But I don't think Naruto has much of this kind of stuff. Otherwise it would have been taken out long ago. The third generation nodded in agreement after hearing Kakashi's report. He had received a report from the Anbu before that Naruto had been on the verge of death many times while practicing wind style blood blast technique over the years. Even though he was the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki and had the physique of an Uzumaki clan, the child had to stay in the hospital for 10 days to half a month. If there really was such a good thing, it would have been taken out long ago. The third generation held the pipe and puffed out smoke. After thinking for a while, he said something more. I will ask the Anbu to keep this a secret, and it will be classified as the village's top secret. When you get back, ask Naruto about the potion. Yes, Sandaime-sama. The third generation nodded and was about to wave Kakashi away when he suddenly grasped the key point of Kakashi's previous words. Kakashi, you mean? You were injured by Naruto during the test. And the whole arm was broken. The third generation opened his eyes wide, totally unable to believe this. Isn't it? Did they really teach this kid taijutsu? Kakashi's face twitched. I thought I could save my reputation, but I didn't expect that the third generation only noticed this problem at this time. Correct. Kakashi didn't explain much, he just wanted to go back and have a good rest. When the third generation heard his words, he looked at Kakashi's indifferent expression and remained silent for a while. After a long time, the third generation finally spoke. Kakashi, you have been a little lazy in recent years. Your father and Minato wouldn't want to see you like this. Kakashi. Do you want to go see how perverted Naruto is? It's not my problem at all. Kakashi, who was suddenly targeted by the third Hokage, suddenly felt that he was wronged. Chapter 36. I have opened my eyes as wide as possible. Naruto walked through the light gate and arrived at the Hyuga clan's territory. He looked up and saw Hinata standing there with her hands on her chest, and she even had a new hairpin on her head. It seems that he is very much looking forward to today's date. Naruto smiled and waved his hands to greet the girl at the gate. However, his actions instantly made everyone in the Hyuga clan nervous. Anyone who was a member of the Hyuga clan has no good feelings towards this yellow-haired man who started kidnapping his eldest daughter when she was only 6 years old. Miss Hinata is considered by everyone to be the hope of the Hyuga clan. But this yellow-haired guy has been coming to my door since I was a child. He was doing it secretly at first, but in the past 2 years he has even appeared at the gate openly. The reason why we haven't taken action against this kid yet is because we still have some rationality in our hearts. Otherwise, I'm going to teach Uzumaki Naruto a lesson. When Hinata heard the familiar voice, her eyes suddenly lit up. She waved in response to Naruto, with an excited blush on her face. The Hyuga clan members had never seen their eldest daughter smile so happily. They felt the smile on Hinata's face and were also happy for the young lady, but at the same time they rolled their eyes at a certain yellow-haired guy. Anyway, this yellow-haired guy is unforgivable. Naruto ignored the angry looks of the Hyuga clan. After all, he had become accustomed to being looked down upon by his girlfriend's family over the years. If one day they don't look at him like this, he will still feel uncomfortable. Hinata took small steps and moved quickly to Naruto's shoulder, but felt it was embarrassing to get too close, so she took a small step back to the side. She looked at Naruto with a light in her eyes, and her white pupils shone brightly like a gem at this moment. The Hyuga clan members felt that the light in the eldest lady's eyes was blindingly bright. Naruto glanced at the middle-aged and elderly people around him, then looked at the cute young girl. For some reason, his brain suddenly pulled and he whistled loudly. Realizing that his behavior was extremely provocative, and fearing that a fight would really break out and destroy the Hyuga family, Naruto quickly threw out a space door, grabbed Hinata's hand, and left the scene. Damn! Was this kid provoking us just now? No matter what. I'm going to fight this yellow-haired guy today. No one can stop me. Even if Lord Rizu comes today, I will take care of him. Damn it. The Hyuga tribe members already had a lot of complaints about the yellow-haired guy, and they were trying very hard to control their anger, but they didn't know that the yellow-haired guy was so ungrateful that he even dared to whistle and provoke them. I simply don't take them seriously. After everyone calmed down, they felt that bullying the weak would somewhat damage the reputation of the Hyuga clan, so they decided to secretly inform the genius of the Hyuga branch family, Hyuga Neji. They couldn't attack the yellow-haired guy, but there was nothing wrong with Ningji, who was about the same age, having a sparring match with him, right? Not only can the clan leader and the Hokage not find any fault with it, but it can also teach that damn yellow-haired guy a lesson. Simply kill two birds with one stone. As for whether Hyuga Neji will lose, sorry, they never considered it. How could a yellow-haired man who possesses space-time ninjutsu be stronger than the genius of their Hyuga clan? When the Hyuga clan secretly went to inform Hyuga Neji, a yellow-haired man had already brought Hinata out of the photo studio. The two not only took Ninja ID photos, but also took a lot of group photos. They took about 100 photos before they stopped satisfied. In the photos, Naruto was doing all kinds of funny things. If Konoha Photo Studio had the recording equipment, Naruto would have wanted to skip the third subject on the spot. When the final battle was over, he could also play the MVP settlement screen of himself as the winner. Hinata is shy and not as open as Naruto. Her poses in every photo are almost the same. She basically tilts her head and smiles at the funny Naruto. She really envied Naruto's courage and carefree nature. After so many years of contact, Hinata can always find the shining points in Naruto. She didn't know when it started, but she told herself in her heart that she must become a courageous person like Naruto. Maybe it was when she was 3 years old and got lost, or when she was over 5 years old and helped me fight off those bad kids. Hinata thought about past memories and unconsciously held the large stack of photos in her hands tightly against her chest. How strange. Open black lens bracket. Why is my heart beating so fast? Close black lens bracket. Feeling her heart beating, Hinata felt that her mood at the moment was somewhat indescribable and subtle. She didn't know how to describe the feeling. Hinata, let's go eat. How about Ichiraku ramen? When Hinata heard the word, eat, a hint of panic appeared on her face. She didn't want Naruto to know that she ate so much. A girl who eats so much will definitely be laughed at by Naruto. And she didn't want Naruto to spend too much money. I'm not hungry. Naruto saw the girl's unnatural expression and instantly understood what she was thinking. But I'm a little hungry. Let's go. Hinata-chan, just consider it as accompanying me. Hearing Naruto say this, Hinata first showed an embarrassment, but she had no choice but to agree to him, and kept reminding herself in her heart. I just accompanied Naruto to eat ramen. I won't eat a single bite. The two walked side by side on the streets of Konoha village. They didn't walk fast, but both of them felt extremely calm in their hearts at this moment. Hinata thought how nice it would be if she could continue walking like this with Naruto. The Ichiraku ramen stall is not big, not even as big as the snack stall Naruto had eaten at in his previous life. He really didn't understand Uncle Ichiraku. Since his business was so good, why didn't he open a store in Konoha village? Then Naruto thought of the destroyed Konoha village in the later period. Could it be that Uncle Ichiraku knew in advance that Konoha village would be destroyed in the future, so he didn't spend a lot of money to open a store in the village? Naruto, who was distracted, felt as if he had discovered an unknown secret. When the curtain was opened, only 4 people could sit inside. Hey, what would you like to eat? When Yil saw the 2 guests, he wiped his hands with a rag and greeted them warmly with squinting eyes. Naruto had a serious look on his face, staring intently into Ichiraku's eyes. Hinata didn't quite understand the look on his face, and it was a little rude not to reply to her boss. Uncle, 2 bowls of seafood ramen please. Hinata next to her was a little confused. Didn't Naruto-kun say he would eat it himself? But why did you order 2? Does Naruto want to eat 2 bowls? The girl was very confused but was too embarrassed to ask. Naruto didn't notice Hinata's little expression, his attention was all on the face of Uncle Ichiraku who was busy. After a few minutes, Naruto felt that unless he found out Ichiraku's identity, he probably wouldn't be able to sleep tonight. In his previous life, he always saw people in those forums joking that Uncle Ichiraku was a hidden member of the Otsutsuki clan. Some people even started analyzing things like Otsutsuki Ichiraku, which was extremely outrageous. Uncle, why do you always keep your eyes closed? Naruto finally couldn't help but ask Ichiraku a question. Ichiraku, who was busy inside, paused and turned to look at Naruto. He had already started to have doubts in his mind. Whose child is this? How can you be so rude? I have opened my eyes as wide as I can. Chapter 37. Are you called Uzumaki Naruto? After learning that Uncle Ichiraku's eyes were naturally this big, Naruto realized that his previous question was indeed a bit offensive. He clasped his hands together and said sorry to Uncle Ichiraku. Naruto really didn't expect the truth to be like this. Ichiraku just smiled at the boy's appearance and didn't take Naruto's behavior to heart. He brought out 2 generous bowls of seafood ramen and placed them in front of the 2 of them. Guests, please use it slowly. The 2 bowls of seafood ramen were quite filling. To be honest, it was like noodles were mixed into the seafood. Even the bowls were bigger than Naruto's face. Compared to the paper-thin beef in a certain beef ramen in my previous life, this is very good. Naruto pushed one of the bowls in front of Hinata. The little girl was thin-skinned, so he even found an excuse for Hinata. Eat something with me. Hinata was about to refuse when Naruto stuffed the chopsticks into her hand. After hesitating for a few seconds, she finally lowered her head and ate the ramen in small bites. Hinata is not stupid. Of course she knows that Naruto said this to take care of her. And Naruto-kun's excuse is really lame. The thoughtful Hinata naturally wouldn't point it out to him, and still smiled and pretended that she knew nothing. Half an hour later, Naruto's stomach was pumping up and down, and if he moved even a little, he felt like he could throw up all the ramen he had just eaten. There were 18 empty bowls placed at his position, and there were about 60 bowls placed at Hinata's position. Suck it. Hinata's little mouth moved, and the last mouthful of noodles went into her stomach. You wouldn't be able to tell that this girl has already eaten more than 60 bowls of ramen. Are you okay? Hinata regretted that she couldn't help but eat so many bowls of noodles. I'll be fine if I take a break. Naruto swallowed hard and took several deep breaths before gradually feeling better. At the beginning, he ate with Hinata in order to take Hinata's feelings into consideration. As a result, when I ate the 10th bowl, one suddenly felt a strange man's desire to win. He just wanted to see if he could eat more than Hinata. By the time he had eaten his 15th bowl of ramen, Naruto realized he was wrong. It's also extremely wrong. Hinata's stomach is even more exaggerated than the vixen in her belly. The big fox could at least tell how full he was, but Hinata's entire state was just as full. When asking her if she was full, Naruto would always hear Hinata say she was almost full, and it sounded like she would be full after eating one more bowl. In short, don't ask, the only thing you ask is how full you are. Hinata's face turned slightly red, and she still felt very embarrassed. She secretly put the ramen money in a hidden place while Naruto was not paying attention, then walked in front of Naruto and helped him down from his seat. As they walked, Hinata stroked Naruto's back with her hand, as if that would make him feel better. Naruto was almost dying of suffocation and was feeling both pain and happiness at the same time. But as he walked, the fox in his stomach was still mocking him. Little devil, you are too weak. I can't even eat a little girl. After Ju Lama finished speaking, he opened his bloody mouth and sucked, and the pieces of meat on the giant barbecue grill flew directly into his mouth. Naruto was speechless after hearing this. How can a normal person like me compare with you? Besides, did this big fox really not realize that it had grown in size due to overeating over the years? Wait. When you see the other tailed beasts, you should panic. Naruto didn't want to pay attention to the cryptic vixen in his stomach. Naruto, who was taken care of by Hinata, despised the greedy vixen in his belly. We didn't pay just now, did we? Naruto was halfway there when he suddenly remembered that the 2 of them seemed to have just left Ichiraku ramen directly without giving a penny. Although Uzumaki Naruto does not have a good reputation in the village, he has never been willing to do things like eating and dashing. Moreover, when he was 3 years old, a gold ingot was thrown out of the system, and he realized that there was no one in the world richer than himself. If Naruto wanted to, he could use the large amount of gold ingots in the system to impact the economy of the entire world. I guess by then there would be no need for Obito to start the Fourth World War, as the ninja world would have gone to war on its own because of the economic collapse. I just paid. Hinata lowered her head and didn't dare to look at Naruto, for fear that she would be blamed. But remember to tell me next time. Naruto didn't care. Seeing Hinata lowering her head, he reached out and touched her little head. What are you doing? Let go of Miss Hinata. A sudden shout from the front separated the two people who were almost sticking together. Naruto turned his head and saw a member of the Hyuga clan standing in front of him. Considering his long black hair and the fury in his eyes, he realized that it was his brother-in-law Hyuga Neji who came. Hinata became a little flustered when she saw the other party's furious look. She wasn't afraid that Naruto would be beaten, she was mainly worried that her brother would be injured by Naruto. Hyuga Neji glanced at Naruto coldly, and then saw Miss Hinata standing in front of the yellow-haired man. Neji raised his head slightly and took a deep breath. The Hyuga clan's tradition helped him control the anger in his heart. Although he had heard before that the yellow-haired man had a special relationship with the eldest lady, he thought at the time that it was just a rumor. Who would have thought? Is this yellow-haired guy really trying to trick the eldest daughter of the Hyuga clan away? As the eldest daughter of the Hyuga clan, she shoulders the fate of the entire family. And their entire branch family tied the fate to the eldest daughter. He was actually hanging out with this yellow-haired guy. What on earth is the young lady doing? Shouldn't I be working hard to become stronger at this time? Neji felt that it was a joke that his fate was tied to this young lady. To be honest, in his heart, he looked down on this timid young lady, and also looked down on the yellow-haired guy who couldn't recognize himself. In short, Hyuga Neji is very, very angry at the moment. You're the one called Uzumaki Naruto. Big, what's wrong with you? Naruto almost shouted, brother-in-law, subconsciously. If he hadn't reacted in time, he estimated that Nechi would have been very angry with him. Naruto's quite normal words sounded like a provocation to Neji. Doesn't this guy know how to consider the occasion at all? Ningji knew that he had to teach this yellow-haired guy a lesson. He slowly swung his right hand to the side of his body, took a step forward, and made a gesture to start the Hyuga fluid technique. Hinata looked at Neji, then at Naruto, and suddenly felt something was wrong. Naruto was immediately amused by Nechi's challenge. Physical duel. Uzumaki Naruto's favorite is this. Chapter 38 Naruto defeated his brother-in-law with his mouth. Hinata, wait for me over there. I'll fix it quickly. Naruto rubbed Hinata's head and asked her to wait for him at the side. As for my eldest uncle, let's give him a little color. After all, they are family members. What if the brother-in-law beats his nephew badly? Naruto slowly made the starting gesture of Wing Chun and revealed his family background to his brother-in-law. Konoha, where are the roads in Foshan? Neji was confused as to why this guy wanted to introduce himself before the fight. What the hell is this road in Foshan? He didn't understand, but out of respect for the person he was fighting with, Neji still began to respond by imitating the other person's words. Konoha, Hyuga Neji. Naruto. After hearing what Neji said, a question mark suddenly popped up in Naruto's mind. Why are you learning from me? It's suddenly so formal. I feel quite embarrassed. Forget it, let's beat up my brother-in-law first. Naruto doesn't understand why his brother-in-law is only in his teens and keeps talking about fate and destiny all the time. But seeing how he looked at Hinata just now, Naruto felt that they would have a fight sooner or later. Moreover, he is not Tianzui in the original work, who has no skill of talking, but instead has the skill of taunting. All he could do was to taunt his brother-in-law harshly at the beginning and then beat him into submission. If you dare to talk about fate, from now on, I'll beat you up every time I see you. So as to avoid giving away your life in the final battle. Master Uzumaki kicked his right foot and rushed in front of Hyuga Neji in one step. Ninki rolled his eyes instantly and glanced at the chakra in the yellow-haired man's body. At this moment, he seemed to see the sun. From the Byakugan's perspective, not only are the meridians in this yellow-haired man's body several times thicker than those of a normal person, but the chakra in his body is so much that it is a bit dazzling. If the chakra of an ordinary ninja can be compared to a flame, then the chakra in the yellow-haired man in front of him can be said to be a sun. How is this possible? Why does he have so much chakra? As a genius of the Hyuga clan, he had never lost his composure like this before. He didn't even react when the other person got close to him. Master Uzumaki came up to Neji and started trying to cut him in the middle, but once Neji realized what was happening, he gently turned his arm to neutralize Master Uzumaki's attack. "You guy. What kind of monster is this?" Neji defended against Naruto's attack with 3 punches and 2 kicks, and shouted in shock. However, he was more confused than surprised. "This guy has such amazing chakra. Why did you come up here and compete with me in physical skills?" From the test just now, Ningji discovered that this yellow-haired man didn't know any physical skills at all. "Are you actually using your weaknesses to fight against your strengths? Is this looking down on yourself?" Ningji became a little angry as he thought about it. He felt that the yellow-haired man was too arrogant, so he turned his head to avoid the other's fist, then turned around and punched the other hard on the head. The fist in Naruto's eyes gradually grew bigger, and he immediately realized that he could not dodge this punch from his brother-in-law. Although he was not afraid of pain, being punched in the face was a very unpleasant experience. His fingertips trembled slightly, and a purple light gate appeared behind Naruto. He leaned back and disappeared on the spot, causing Neji's punch to miss. Seeing this scene, Neji immediately took a defensive posture, and his Byakugan was constantly searching for this guy's trace. However, at this moment, a purple light gate instantly opened behind Neji, and it was difficult for Neji not to notice Naruto's dazzling chakra. But Naruto was too fast. The moment he appeared, he kicked Neji hard on the butt. After so many battles with Sasuke over the years, Naruto knew how to keep his enemy off balance. Generally, when facing an enemy, their center of gravity will lean forward slightly so that they can be ready to attack or defend at any time. It is very easy to disrupt this balance. Before Naruto came out of the space gate, he raised his leg and kicked Neji in the butt, then opened a light gate in front of Neji. Neji was hit so hard that he had no time to react. He staggered forward a few steps uncontrollably and plunged into the purple light gate. Neji could only watch himself walk into the light gate, followed by a feeling of uneasiness about the light gate. He didn't know what would happen after he went in. When Naruto saw that Neji was successfully kicked into the space gate by him, he raised the corner of his mouth and looked very proud. This is a move he created himself, the Whirlpool Triangle Kill. This is inspired by the Ma-style Triangle Kill in the previous League of Legends game. It's a pity that he hasn't learned his father's Flying Thunder God and Rasengan, otherwise he would be able to throw a kunai at the space gate first, and then send the enemy into the light gate. Finally, he set the path of the kunai and the enemy to be consistent, and then he rolled the ball and did a Flying Thunder God slash. Naruto's scalp was tingling just thinking about this operation. It's so handsome. But now, he could only kick the enemy into the portal, teleport to the enemy's landing point, and then gather strength to punch his brother-in-law. People who are not familiar with teleportation have no time to react the moment they land. So, this punch is 100% sure to hit the target. When Neji disappeared from the spot, Naruto threw a space gate and got in, and his position would be teleported to where Neji landed. 10 meters away, as Neji walked out of the space gate, he saw a dazzling chakra. It's Uzumaki Naruto. Ah da. Brother-in-law, take this serious punch from me. Neji's pupils dilated. He realized that he couldn't dodge and could only grit his teeth and exchange injuries with the boy. You can avoid losses even if you don't make huge profits. He thrust his palm straight into the yellow-haired man's abdomen, while Naruto punched him in the face. When Naruto first saw his brother-in-law's reaction, he couldn't help but sigh in his heart that this guy was indeed a genius of the Hyuga clan. But who is afraid of who when exchanging injuries? Let alone letting you hit me in the abdomen once, even if I hit you 10 times, I, Uzumaki Naruto, won't be afraid. Naruto's stomach suddenly churned as he thought of this, and the negative condition from eating too much at Ichiraku ramen began to take effect. Naruto felt the discomfort in his stomach and instantly realized that something was wrong. Ningji, wait a minute. The next second, Neji was punched hard on the cheek, leaving a blank in his head. After Naruto's abdomen was hit by an acupuncture point, he could no longer hold it in. Naruto opened his mouth and vomited everything he had just eaten onto Neji like a water baby. With his mind still blank, Ninki felt his face getting wet, and then he smelled the smell of ramen. He subconsciously touched the strip on his face, picked it up and took a look, and was petrified on the spot. When Naruto saw his brother-in-law covered in all kinds of vomit from him, he was also stunned. The scene suddenly became quiet. Hinata was standing by and was also stunned when she saw Nechi. A few seconds later, Neji broke the silence by retching. Although the smell was not as bad as expected, the other party vomited all over me. Neji couldn't help but retching. He felt the stickiness on his body and his whole body began to tremble. He gritted his teeth and roared word by word. Uzumaki. Uzumaki. Naruto. Chapter 39. Sasuke paid a huge price to practice lightning release. The furious Neji kept shouting that he wanted to kill Naruto, while he kept dry heaving because of the vomit on his body. When Naruto saw how embarrassed he was, he couldn't help but take 2 steps back and pinched his nose with his hand, his whole body revealing his disgust for his brother-in-law. Seeing that Neji was really angry, Naruto thought he should explain a little. It's better to say nothing to let the other person calm down, and it will make you feel better if you say it out loud. It's not my fault. You made me vomit. It would have been better if Naruto didn't say it, but when Neji heard it, he almost fainted from anger. He took difficult steps, fearing that his movements would be too big and cause the foreign object on his head to hit his face. Even Hinata, who was watching the fight from the side, could feel the murderous intent from her brother. Seeing that the situation was not good, Naruto scratched his head and smiled awkwardly. Brother, it's getting late. I'll take Hinata back first. After saying that, Naruto threw out a space door without any hesitation and pulled Hinata away from the spot in a few flashes. Ninki stared at the place where the yellow-haired man disappeared and blurted out, "Who is your brother-in-law?" "This yellow-haired guy has been calling me brother-in-law since just now." It never stopped. The more Ninki thought about it, the angrier he got. But now the yellow-haired guy had already left with Hinata. But there is nothing you can do even if you are angry. Neji slowly loosened his clenched fists and took a few deep breaths in an attempt to suppress the anger in his heart. The most important thing now is to find a place to clean up this miserable state. Besides, he absolutely does not agree to this marriage. On the other side, our Master Ming has brought Hinata back to the Hyuga clan. Feeling a little guilty, Naruto didn't dare to open the space door at the front door this time, but chose the back door instead. He was not sure whether his brother-in-law had any relatives or friends who wanted to cause trouble for him. Are you okay?" Hinata pointed at Naruto's belly while speaking. She was a little worried. After all, Naruto was beaten to death by his brother just now. "Ha ha ha. Don't worry. It's okay, no problem." Hinata's concern made him even more embarrassed. This little girl doesn't worry about her brother, but she cares about herself first. Well, Hinata is awesome. Naruto felt warm in his heart suddenly because of the care he received. He touched the little girl's head but didn't do anything excessive. After all, the big fox has already sensed a lot of malice around him. He thought that his actions were a little too much, so Hiashi Leoden threw the cup and a large number of Hyuga swordsmen appeared around him, ready to chop him into meat paste. After saying goodbye to Hinata, Naruto created a space gate and returned to the grove. In the grove, Sasuke was sitting on the ground in a daze, with arcs of electricity flashing on his body from time to time. As for Sakura, she sat in the corner, hugging her knees with her hands and even buried her head in her knees. Judging from the frequency of her body twitching, Naruto guessed that Sakura must have spent the entire afternoon with Sasuke, and was hiding in a corner, secretly happy. Sheila. Before he reached Sasuke, he heard the crackling sound of electricity and the smell of burning hair. Is this kid going to electrocute himself? In the original work, Sasuke did use lightning to stimulate the cells in his body. But he remembered that this kind of practice should not produce a burnt smell, right? Sitting 3 bodies away from Sasuke, Naruto asked a few more questions. What are you doing? Learn the Thunder King. Practice. Sasuke still maintained his previous expression, replied indifferently, then turned his head to look at Naruto. Thunder King. Oh, just a very powerful guy. Hearing that Naruto didn't want to say more, he didn't continue asking. The two of them have been getting along this way for many years. No matter what they say or do, there is basically no need to explain it too clearly. They can just do it. What do you think of my method of using lightning chakra to stimulate the body? Sasuke finally couldn't help but ask. Because he seemed to have discovered something wrong. This method of becoming stronger was based on Naruto's wind style. Blood violence technique. And today, he was suddenly shocked by Kakashi's lightning clone, so he wanted to try using chakra to stimulate his body like Naruto. By the way, it can also increase your lightning resistance. Sasuke thought this idea was correct, but he didn't know where the problem was. Whenever he uses lightning chakra to shock himself, the hair on his body will burn a little. Considering the appearance of the Uchiha clan, Sasuke did not let his hair burn at all. As for why there is a burning smell, that's unknown. I think it's okay. But you'd better ask Kakashi, he should know better than me. Naruto glanced at Sasuke's hair, confused. Where on earth is this burning smell coming from? Okay. I'll ask tomorrow. Sasuke nodded and stopped the discharge. There is no way. The loss today is a little too much. If I don't stop, my hair will be burned. And many more. I have an idea. Naruto suddenly slapped Sasuke's thigh and shouted excitedly. He may not know how to use lightning to stimulate cells, but he knows how to use electromagnetic cannon. Lightning release plus coin equals a certain scientific railgun. If you have this, who would play kunai with those ninjas? Naruto picked up a branch from the ground and started writing and drawing on it. Then he began to popularize electromagnetism and the principles of electromagnetic guns with Sasuke. First, let me tell you about the law of electromagnetic induction. This law. You just need to use the lightning chakra like this. And then the coin can be launched. How about it? Do you understand? Uchiha Sasuke. What was this guy just saying? After listening to Naruto's entire explanation, Sasuke felt like his brain was about to shut down. I can clearly understand every word he said, but why can't I understand them when they are put together? Looking at Sasuke's wooden expression, Naruto immediately realized that he had just wasted his breath. Then he changed his statement to one that was more understandable. You know about slingshots, right? Just think of lightning release as a slingshot, and just shoot the metal out. Sasuke felt like he understood, but also felt like he didn't understand. Seeing that Naruto was about to get angry, he nodded. This is very strong. More than strong. Naruto didn't know how to describe the power of the railgun to this kid. After all, he only had a vague understanding of the principle, and he had no concrete idea of how much damage it could cause when actually used. Okay, I see. Although the technique Naruto described was a little difficult to understand, Sasuke believed in Naruto. By the way, why is Sakura lying there and smiling all the time? Naruto really couldn't understand how this nympho girl could stay happy for so long. After hearing Naruto's words, Sasuke was silent for a long time. After a few minutes he spoke to Naruto. Is there a possibility? Is she crying? Chapter 40 Class 7, What the hell are you doing? Since that day, Sakura finally realized how perverted her two teammates were. And she wanted to train with Sasuke but was criticized by him for being too weak. Sasuke's disgusted expression and his words like knives hit Sakura hard. But the girl didn't understand what Sasuke meant at all. Sasuke, who never talks nonsense, actually wanted to tell her. With her weak physique, she was unable to complete the tree-pounding training, let alone the weighted tree-dragging training. Even Sasuke could only barely keep up with half of Naruto's progress. However, the next day, the three little ones finally received the ninja forehead protectors from Kakashi and successfully became the powerful genin of Konoha village. In order to let the team get used to the ninja life in advance, Kakashi specially took on several low-level tasks for them to do in the Hokage building. These tasks are either weeding in villagers' homes, looking for lost pets, or cleaning up garbage in the river. Even more outrageous is helping villagers farm. Kakashi felt that these tasks were very suitable for Naruto, but the third generation always felt that things were starting to go in a bad direction. Naruto finally became a ninja, and you, Kakashi, took this kid to farm. Although the third generation had some objections, he let Kakashi do it. Naruto and the others were quite enthusiastic in doing the mission at the beginning. However, starting from the third day, Naruto used a large number of shadow clones to complete tasks in the village, and then Sasuke and Sakura followed suit and used shadow clones to complete tasks. As for the body, yes too. Naruto chuckled and slowly took out a little punk card in his hand. The three people sitting on the ground were basically practicing and having fun in the grove. He could get mission rewards just by lying down every day, and his life was more comfortable than any other ninja in the village. The three people's faces were covered with notes and ink marks. Kakashi, who was sitting on the treetop reading a book, looked at his subordinates with his dead fish eyes, not knowing how to describe his feelings. He really likes living such a lazy life. He doesn't have to worry too much about taking care of the children, and he can hide in the trees to read books and take naps. After finishing the task, as a senior ninja of Team 7, he can also get a share of the mission fee. Kakashi felt like he had entered retirement life ahead of time. It's obviously a good thing, but he really can't be happy. This damn kid Uzumaki Naruto created thousands of shadow clones and ran around the village to take on all the low-level tasks. He was not picky and took on any task, which caused the village's genin and even the middle and jonin to complain about their Team 7. In the past, Naruto had a bad reputation in the village. After these days, the reputation of their entire Team 7 began to deteriorate. In less than a week, their Team 700 has completed more than D-level missions. You have to know that this is Konoha's 2-month mission. If he hadn't stopped him, Kakashi was really afraid that this kid would finish all the D-rank missions this year. By then, the civilian ninjas in Konoha village will probably be laid off because they have no missions to perform. Kakashi thinks those ninjas would have to say something to Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto, what the hell are you doing? Even the third generation began to worry about the situation in the village. There are also examples like Naruto using shadow clones to accept missions. But which ninja can create hundreds or thousands of shadow clones at any time? I originally thought that this child would become more sensible when he grew up and became a ninja. Although we don't have to worry about Konoha village's Nine-Tails Jinchuriki going to farm now, why does the third Hokage feel more headache? Report to the boss. Today's work is all done. Several clones stood in a row in front of Naruto. This scene seemed to have taken Naruto back to the days when he was a corporate slave in his previous life. But the difference is that Naruto finally got his chance to be a boss. Naruto, who was playing cards, nodded, very satisfied with the work of the clones. He put down the cards in his hand, slowly stood up, and walked in front of the clones with his hands behind his back, looking solemn. At this moment, all the clones felt their hearts tighten at the same time. I have seen everyone's efforts, and everyone has done a great job. Only completed 700 D-rank missions. It's less than 1/10 of our performance target for this month. You 3,000 clones have only completed this small task. Can you still do it? I can't do it. I have plenty of clones to do it. The familiar feeling instantly made the clones dominated by the fear of office workers. They all lowered their heads, and no one dared to stand up and speak. They have tried very hard. And there aren't that many tasks in Konoha village. And many more. Konoha village. Thinking of the clones of Konoha village, he belatedly realized his current situation. Mud. You are noble and you are amazing. You hide here and eat popsicles and drink soda. 700 missions, less than 10 of them. How dare you say such things? The clone became angry when he thought of this. Damn it. What are you doing, master? You actually let your clone work like a beast of burden. Ha ha. You finally became the person you hate the most. Brothers, we are rebelling. Uzumaki Naruto will never be a slave. The prince and General Shomning is kind. I would rather die than be free. The clones couldn't bear the pressure from the original body, so they all rolled up their sleeves and rushed towards Naruto. After that, the main body and the large number of shadow clones fought in a group. The people standing by were speechless. They suspected that Naruto was playing with something very new. Which ninja would get along well with his own shadow clone? Kakashi and the other two could not understand why Naruto was playing around with his clones. And in the process, they always heard some strange words from Naruto's mouths. The peak creates hypocritical supporters and witnesses the devout believers at dusk. The ninja world doesn't create myths. Damn. Strengthen Kizaru. In short, it is words like this. Even Sasuke, who was with Naruto every day, didn't know what he was talking about. But Naruto didn't care about their looks. He was almost bored to death playing landlord with Sasuke and Sakura every day, so he could only play with his shadow clones. After all, you are the only one who can follow up on your own joke. Not to mention, Uzumaki Naruto really doesn't want to play landlord with two shameless guys. This couple is really going too far. One of them opened his Sharingan to peek at his cards, and the other one secretly wrote down all the cards and started to plot against him. So you're just bullying him, an honest man. Bang bang bang. Naruto killed everyone in his shadow clones and soon destroyed a large number of them. Kakashi was really shocked when he saw this scene. You should know that after the shadow clone is cancelled, the memory will be transferred to the main body. 1 or 2 is fine. Eliminating hundreds of shadow clones at once was no less than stuffing a huge rock into the brain. Normally a ninja would have a mental breakdown if he had to deal with dozens of clones at the same time, but look at this kid. He just raised his hand and blew up dozens of clones. Not only did he look like nothing happened, he also had a smile on his face, and it can be seen that he was having a lot of fun. Kakashi couldn't help but sigh again. What the hell is this kid? Is he really the son of his master's wife? Original body. The old man Sandame asked me to inform you to go to the Hokage building. It seems like an important mission. You know. At this time, a shadow clone ran over and spoke to Naruto with a smile, and even pretended to ask for praise. Naruto was stunned after hearing this, and began to feel a little excited. Important task. Could it be the land of waves? Are you going to start brushing Zabuza? Kakashi closed Xiaolubei, turned over and jumped down from the tree, staring with dead fish eyes and said, "Let's go to the Hokage building to take a look."